Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL. Joined with me this evening is Pixie as we head into the final match of the evening between Hong Kong Attitude and rivals AHQ.
And of course we say rivals because, well, I mean, you look at the win record between these two teams. AHQ picked up 2 wins in the first season, and then Hong Kong Attitude struck back to pick up 2 wins of their own. And it was their previous win record against other teams that had AHQ still making it into playoffs. This time around, Hong Kong Attitude did not want the same to happen. They wanted those wins to mean something, and they came out swinging, taking down AHQ, putting the total record 3-2. This is now the opportunity for AHQ to even up that score and keep their own playoff hopes alive, but it's Hong Kong Attitude's opportunity to secure the win and secure their playoff spot.
And before we head into the match, going to get a few thoughts from both the coaches. It's going to be Nito on the right.
就其实这次也没什么好讲，就可能是例行赛最后一次交手嘛。那其实我也第一次看到小杰出来了。
So this is the first time I'm seeing
HK 的教练都比较嚣张，
Jay
出来讲话
coming on.
所以
I call him Small J, Little
我现在
J.
看着你，我在看着你。
I'm watching you.
压力好大哦。
Of course, it's Jay from Hong Kong Attitude.
希望我们季后赛遇得到。
I hope to also see you in the
那
playoffs.
我们等一下精彩比赛马上就开始了，把画面交给我们主播赛评。
That was pretty magnanimous of him to say.
That may have also been potentially interpreted as I'm going to playoffs, maybe I'll see you from the playoffs. So I don't know, it could be either one of
I
those.
have a feeling it may have been the latter.
I'll be in the playoffs and I'll wave to you from there as you're not in.
Based on how you
Yeah.
said it, like I'll see you from, yeah, you know. It's like I'll see you from the plane window kind of thing, right? Like kind of. Like in any case, the thing is actually Hong Kong Attitude are pretty close to being secure. They've got a match tomorrow against Match as well, but that's one that they're certainly a bit more expected to win. So even dropping this one, if they do still pick up that win tomorrow, they're safe. They've made it into playoffs. Really what they want is to secure this win so that they can hold on to that 3rd place, not risk having the 4th place finish. And of course, the thing for AHQ is really, they need to pick this one up because otherwise it's going to come down to the map record to tiebreak between Blank, and that is only if they win that match against Blank as well. They would be tied 7-7 at the end of tomorrow. So AHQ, they need to pick up a win here so that a win against Blank guarantees them playoffs. Otherwise, they're just down to map record, and that's not comfortable enough for AHQ.
Actually, after this, if AHQ win, they'll be on 7-6, and so will Hong Kong Attitude, and so will Blank. All 3 of the teams will be on 7-6. So things get really interesting if AHQ win this one, and Hong Kong Attitude are no longer safe in 3rd either, should that happen. So a lot rides on this one matchup, and it's interesting earlier on you brought up the 3-2 record in terms of matches, because the last time these 2 teams faced off, it was also 3-2, and that was in week 3 of competition.
And the interesting thing, by the way, is if that does happen, AHQ pick up that win, it means that Mega could actually beat Hong Kong Attitude and play spoiler to them. Funny as that may be, that would put them to 7-7, and then the loser of AHQ Blank would also be on 7-7, and it would be a tiebreaker between Hong Kong Attitude and whoever that loser is. That is, of course, only if they lose today and lose versus Matchy tomorrow, and then of course the map record could still maybe be the saving grace for them. So look, Hong Kong Attitude are all but secure. It's really just this last little bit to get it over the line. All they've got to do is beat AHQ one last time, something they've managed to achieve now 3 times in a row.
But the last time that they did beat Hong Kong Attitude, rather the Hong Kong Attitude beating AHQ, was the most difficult, and that was during a time when AHQ was still struggling, still trying to find their feet. The most recent AHQ has been the most dominant and the best performing, best looking AHQ they've ever been, and that was reflected in that very close series against Ardian.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well, is that's also the AHQ that beat Flash Wolves, something that for all their other successes, unfortunately, Hong Kong Attitude have thus far failed to do. So in a sense, actually, Hong Kong Attitude want to secure that playoff spot, and they want to secure it with that 3rd place seed so that they do get the revenge on Flash Wolves to try and get through to the grand finals. Also, generally speaking, you want to try and avoid Ardian. Like, if you want to pick between Flash Wolves and Ardian, you want to pick Flash Wolves. And now, of course, with Ardian and Flash Wolves secure each in that 1st and 2nd place seed, you kind of have more of an idea of where you would ideally like to place. The only thing is that's still got to be the secondary goal to just making it into playoffs. And like you said, a win here for AHQ has all 3 of these teams tied at the end of the second day of this weekend. It would all come down to the final day of matches before we even know who is all making playoffs.
And it does feel like a tale of 3 teams as well, because it has been AHQ and Blank with a better record against Ardian so far, but let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and meet the teams before we head into this match here. Starting things off with Hong Kong Attitude. You've already touched up on this, but they most recently have lost still to Flash Wolves. They still have lost to Ardian, and neither of those look particularly convincing, unfortunately. That's where AHQ does have a bit of a lead on this team.
AHQ there, they do have that little bit of the lead, picking up the win against Flash Wolves, but taking a look at the AHQ side of that, if we're talking about match record, you've got to bring up the loss to Mega, because it's actually more recent than their win against Flash Wolves. And if you're talking about the performance against Ardian, it was a good one against them, right? And that is the most recent performance in terms of this team's level of gameplay. However, it wasn't reflected in map wins. So if we're talking tiebreakers, you've got to respect that Blank just today did pick up that map win where AHQ didn't quite manage to. And that could actually be the difference here. So AHQ still a little bit back-footed despite that resurgence, picking up the win against Flash Wolves.
And it's interesting you bring up the record against Mega, because actually, when you consider the Hong Kong Attitude side, they had a 3-2 scoreline against Mega, and they nearly dropped that one as well. So it's just never really quite clear. It could have gone either way, which is why it makes this current matchup so exciting, because it's hard to tell. At some points when you want to draw the dots here, AHQ, better performance against Flash Wolves, they beat them. Hong Kong Attitude couldn't beat the Flash Wolves. Better performance against Ardian. Hong Kong Attitude, again, much worse performance against Ardian, but then Hong Kong Attitude have most recently beaten AHQ, have most recently beaten Mega, and AHQ have not.
And that's the thing, like, you end up in this really wide web of comparative metrics, because we're even at the point now where actually, even if one team wins and the other doesn't, those comparative metrics could be what decides it, right? AHQ could win here and still not make playoffs because of how that tiebreaker works out. If they lose here, they're in even hotter water because of the tiebreaker against Blank that they would have. They would have to have a very close loss. An 0-3 would be nothing short of disastrous.
This is going to be very difficult. I'm actually expecting this one to go all the way. It's going to go the full distance here, and it should be going the full distance. The only reason it wouldn't is if AHQ actually get a commanding win, rather, 3-1 or 3-0. Otherwise, Hong Kong Attitude could be taking this one out 3-2. It's the wide breadth of the horizontal possibilities is definitely open, and it's difficult to call exactly what it's going to be. And AHQ have had consistency problems as well, because they beat Flash Wolves and then, you know, straight away they lose to Mega. So which version of AHQ we're going to see, and also which version of the Hong Kong Attitude are we going to see, because we have often quoted them as the Hong Kong Attitude roller coaster.
I just realized something. I have a feeling AHQ and Blank are currently tied in map score. I have a feeling they're currently exactly tied in map score. And yeah, we'll see it on the scoreboard there. In fact, they are. That's interesting. You know why that's interesting? It means if, actually, more specifically, no matter what AHQ's result is here, if it is a loss, they must get one more win than they receive losses against Blank tomorrow, or they do not make playoffs. What that means, if they lose 0-3, even a 3-0 against Blank would have them tied in map difference. That would be pretty interesting. If they lose, it has to be with at least one map win in their favor, and then they have to beat Blank tomorrow in order to make playoffs. So there is a lot riding on this for AHQ. This is about as dangerous as it gets. And by the way, if they lose 0-3 and then beat Blank 3-1, they still don't make playoffs. They would be tied for score, and there would be one map separating these two teams. And you know what that one map would be? It would be that win that Blank just got today against Ardian.
Yeah, well, this is why we said, look, that one that they got against Ardian is so critical. But now moving into this matchup, if we talk about AHQ picking up one map win, the first map may just have to start on Lee Chung. They'll feel much better if they can get that.
That would be a pretty good way to kick things off. And yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, of course, do get this home side pick. So that is one thing that has to be respected here as well. Last time these teams met, it was Hong Kong Attitude on the away side, still securing the win there. It was a 3-2, if I'm not mistaken. It was hard fought and well earned. And actually, a lot of those wins were on AHQ map picks as well. So their ability to turn that one around, despite AHQ getting the majority home side picks, or rather, excuse me, the majority map picks because of that home side, says a lot, right? So maybe, just maybe, that home side will be enough for Hong Kong Attitude to close it out in maybe more of a convincing fashion.
This is a difficult sort of decision for me as well in terms of exactly who I'd like to see. I don't know, it's difficult in the sense of who I can expect to win, because either team can be expected to win. But I kind of want to see a situation where AHQ do take this one and suddenly all three of these teams are tied up in just this huge mess of the standings. That would just make things very interesting.
Well, the thing is, like I was just saying, I mean, even if they lose here, it comes down to their performance against Blank tomorrow on a very minute level. Look, it's going to be drama all the way to the end. Like, we're literally not going to know who has made it through and who hasn't until the very last day of play. I just want to compare that, by the way, to Season 1, where that top 3 was basically set in stone from that second round robin. It still took a while for teams to be mathematically eliminated from playoffs, but in the realistic sense, AHQ was secure very early on. This time around, it's going to come down to the very last day.
Well, in terms of story, though, the second round robin is exactly where this all finishes, but now getting into Lijiang Tao, these two teams fighting for so much on the line begins now.
And it could just be that home side pick that changes everything. But really, it's execution that counts. So out the gate, both of these teams looking to just kind of play their beats here. Hong Kong Attitude running Mui on the Genji, but it's Ting, the first casualty. No trade back just yet, but there they go getting Eric and closing out on He, who ends up over the edge as well. Nice boot from CQB means no pilot form either to affect the fight. Similar one on Randy, like literally going even here. Like even the kills are coming through in the exact same way, but that could be the one to swing it around as Mui goes down. But never mind that, because the Ting is back in this one, closing out on Dizzy. They get Rapid too, and that should be Hong Kong Attitude now with the numerical advantage on the point. That was a pretty protracted fight and a very, very even one until that last little beat there where Hong Kong Attitude getting the better of it.
And it comes down to Mango Giant to have the kick-it combo breaker that actually stops AHQ from exactly, you know, continuing that run. And it means that now Hong Kong Attitude continue that progress run themselves. Mui had very close to this Dragon Blade coming up as well. And Dizzy actually had a decent run in the middle, but now just waiting for that tactical visor.
Mui's Dragon Blade is really the one they want to try and leverage here. Good catch on Shaolin. Mui's got to get a lot done with this Dragon Blade. Looking to get in the back line. Does get one for his trouble, but goes down straight after. They pick off Dizzy, though. That takes the tack visor off the table. That could be the swing factor. And AHQ got the cap through in that, by the way. Rapid smartly going around the backside to grab that. Now Hong Kong Attitude have to find a way to deal with that. They lose Mango Jai, and it doesn't look like they will be able to deal with it. Now what they've got to do is find a way to retreat safely. They shouldn't be gunning for the point. They can't actually get it back. They've already lost the fight. They just need to get out and not give away too many more kills.
And Hong Kong Attitude realize that as they finally depart from this one, AHQ now taking themselves up, already passing progress in terms of what Hong Kong Attitude were already at. Dizzy saves his tactical visor while Mui loses the Dragon Blade. This is what's going to make the difference for AHQ now. Both supports on both sides do have ultimates. It's looking very even. The only disparity again is between Dizzy and Mui.
It's dangerous as well for the Genji to dive into that room because, I mean, you've got to dive through the Tesla cannon. It can't not hit you at that point. But at any rate, what's done is done, and now it's whatever Hong Kong Attitude are going to do for this next fight. Ultimates are almost even, save for that tack visor, which can swing it.
HQ in a really decent spot here. They're not able to get flanked too easily. They're making sure they're keeping tabs on exactly which direction Hong Kong Attitude are coming in from. Dizzy's well protected. Here comes the Tack Visor.
The commit, yeah, Tack Visor, and they do get Mui out of the picture already, but they have lost Rapid. They will probably have to commit more ultimates. Good bump onto Dizzy. Starts to swing it a little bit over the Hong Kong Attitude way. AHQ have to commit some more ultimates now, but Hong Kong Attitude having committed all of theirs already. Doesn't matter though, because they're the ones who are getting the mileage out of it, and as it turns out, both teams are going to commit everything they've got, and it's going to be Hong Kong Attitude so far getting the better of it. Close out on Eric now. Going to be Rapid, the last man on the point. Pulls it past that 80% mark, which is good news for AHQ, but staggered kill on Dizzy and the cap for Hong Kong Attitude.
And such a well-played situation by Ting as well. First of all, he drops the bubble directly onto the entrance where Dizzy wanted to come with tactical visor. Dizzy tried to relocate, go to the other entrance on the right side, and Ting meets him there with the Primal Rage, knocks him off the side of the map. So the small micro decision there by Ting on the Winston really made the difference at the end of the day. for Hong Kong Attitude.
Now we see Mui, same thing again, going into this exact same room with the Dragon Blade, and oh, this time he does get Eric for it. Not going to have that 1-for-1. One ultimate for 1 kill, though, isn't exactly ideal, but it does give them more time on the point.
It does force AHQ to have a full reset, though, so they buy the extra progress, and like you said, the extra time as well. 1 ultimate now down, and Dizzy's still yet to get the tactical visor. AHQ aren't really looking that healthy in terms of economy either, especially with Dizzy going down now. More time they have to waste to wait for him.
It's exactly the kind of pick you want to have if we're talking about time on the point, progress as it were. It means even if AHQ cap, it'll probably be at even percentage, and Hong Kong Attitude crucially have had time to charge up some ultimates.
This is where the teams get really close to each other right now, and Dizzy, because he died, doesn't charge up the tactical visor. Rapid, though, it's going to open things up.
Yeah, good early D-Mech on Randy, landing the pulse bomb, really getting some work for it, and Rapid closing that one out too. Shaolin, hard pressured out, has to regroup along with Mui. This gives AHQ the ability to get to the point, but pushing 90%. If Hong Kong Attitude can find a way in this fight and get some picks, they can actually close the game out right here, right now, and that is exactly what they're looking for, is to go aggressive. They need to get this Transcendence up, though, and there it goes out, but they lose Mui. Transcendence can't save you from environmental kills. Cares as well with his own Transcendence, and it's AHQ with more ultimates in the back pocket, with more ability to go the distance, and maybe now Hong Kong Attitude ought to just preserve what little they have and come in for the last ditch. No, Randy throws out the self-destruct, but they can't get anything for it. They're out of ultimates now, out of resources. Getting that 1 trade kill at the back end, they get actually another kill in the mix onto Dizzy. Maybe that'll help them, but they can't lose members. They're losing them so late here. A Ting, he's going to be, he's able to get out there. That is so dicey.
He's not quite out of it just yet, because it looks like Hong Kong Attitude still committing onto this one. They're trying to fight back on now as AHQ are threatening their own overtime. Getting in early is important, but killing Shailin is even better.
Really big, but Mui's got the Dragon Blade. This is the time they need to get distance off it, but the self-destruct on the point means it's hard for him to get in. He ends up getting nothing, and Mango Jai goes down to Dizzy. Now Hong Kong Attitude just aren't getting these same picks. Do get 1 onto Rapid, but they lose Ranning's mech. A Ting is low, he goes down, Mui's down, and now it's only Shailin alone on the point. CQB lost, Mango Jai trying to leg it in, and Hong Kong Attitude doing themselves no favors for that closing stretch. AHQ pulling it back 99-99 will get the first point of Lijiang Tower.
And this is all off the back of the fact that Hong Kong Attitude never reset cleanly. They kept trying to hold on to this cap, despite the fact that they were already on 99% progress. You staying on the cap there doesn't give you any more additional progress. You're not ticking over 100, you're just staying at that 99. You're already in a losing position. They tried to go for an all-in play to try and just finish the game right then and there. Blow AHQ away and finish it, but unfortunately, AHQ are far more resilient than that. AHQ punished hard, they got the kills, and suddenly, when it really counted, Hong Kong Attitude had to wait for respawners, couldn't recontest cleanly.
And you can respect the decision to do that, but the moment it started going south, they should have pulled out. They should have pulled out a lot sooner than they did. And they may have still had another opportunity, but like I said, kind of did themselves no favors at the end there. Now, though, new map, new dawn, new day, I suppose. AHQ going to pull out the Pharah here, but Hong Kong Attitude had the tools to counter it.
It's very standard play from AHQ to be pulling out the pharmacy. Crappy's been playing the Mercy even when it wasn't the Pharah coming in. But like you said, Mui should be in position to counter it. But the person that's actually in position, once again, is Crappy with the environmental.
Exactly. They got the D-Mech onto Hehe, and it was looking salvageable, if nothing else. But that environmental on the Randy, it takes so much out of the fight so fast. It takes away your ability to block the Pharah rockets. It's no surprise AHQ get the cap off that.
And by the way, 2 out of 2 as well. We've seen this already onto Night Market, just seeing it again onto Gardens. The consistent boot kill onto Randy has hurt Hong Kong Attitude twice in these opening engagements.
Now Hong Kong Attitude need to find their way back onto it. They are able to go for this backside push, which takes Dizzy a little bit out of the equation, but they need to get this tactical visor. Also need to actually get kills, by the way. That's always the crucial one here. They're getting some good pressure in. Sound barrier now a factor. No one dead just yet. They're trying to get onto Hehe, though. D-Mech him as the sound barrier comes out. No, it just saves the mech. Oh, no, it doesn't. Never mind. It is Shailin converting that. Now it's the tactical visor converting even more. Crappy's got a res, though, and he may just need to commit it. There it goes, pulling these two members back and instantly convert onto Randy, but the trade back on Rapid, so it's still kind of an open fight. CQB, if he can get the sound barrier, could be the turning tide point for Hong Kong Attitude, but no, it's the rocket barrage that is. Even as the Transcendence comes in, they still need to convert off this. haven't quite got Eric, just can't quite close out these kills, and it's all progress on the point for AHQ too.
And the biggest problem is Mui used the tactical visor on Eric while Eric is pushing him in the face, not onto Dizzy. The second tech visor now available as they try and push out the pharmacy combo of AHQ, while AHQ still ticking up on the progress. Now AHQ will be playing for a little bit of stall before they eventually have to back out, go for the full reset. Hong Kong Attitude should be in control after this.
The incredible thing though, I mean, you said it right there, second tactical visor. That fight went long enough for Mui to charge attack visor, use it, not get anything, charge another one, use it, and get something. It amounts to 74% for AHQ, but at least Hong Kong Attitude do get that cap through.
It feels like a bonus ticket from the loader. The first one doesn't win you anything except the second one, and the second one is where you actually get the prize, and finally Hong Kong Attitude, they do get the rewards, but it's short-lived.
Very short-lived. There's a great dive onto Mui, executes him straight out of the picture. They need to close out kills quick because, of course, Rez will be a factor, but they're just not getting anything here. And the Rez going to come in onto Keres just for the tempo of the fight now. Hong Kong Attitude rebuffed solidly from the point, and the Rocket Barrage. Mango Jai does commit the Transcenders, but it doesn't save the members. Ooh, nearly going down to the conk there. And Hong Kong Attitude rebuffed. Maybe get one more chance at this.
And this is now a very commanding lead for AHQ, who, by the way, already won night markets. They're now very close to finishing out lead junk already. Talk about the fact that they need to have this one map lead. They can't go down 0-3 at all in the series, and they might not do that at all.
Now just desperately needing to find a way in, but AHQ have all the tools to stop it, right? That's the pulse bomb, doesn't quite get the close out. Sound barrier to come out now from CQB to give them legs, and they convert onto Hee. That's a good way to start. They get the man himself as well. Eric's gonna have to commit this Primal Rage, but Crappy will be able to get a res soon unless they kill him. That's the way to do it. A Ting finding that one on the back end, and Eric smartly not gonna commit the Primal Rage. You can't push progress any further than 99% short of actually capping. Dizzy does get one on the back end of it, but it is going to be Hong Kong Attitude getting back on the point.
This is going to be AHQ now crawling back to their base. 3 members left alive there. Killing Crappy was absolutely important. Like you already mentioned there, the lack of a res really hurts AHQ in this position. However, that was the one fight they could afford to lose. Now, if they get to come back with everything they saved up, the res is going to be a factor coming into this next engagement. And Hong Kong Attitude do not have the progress to really pressure AHQ.
Ooh, that's a good pick onto Eric, and the tactical visor gets Keres after the res was committed, gets Dizzy too, and then Crappy for good measure, able to take that ultimate off the table quite cheaply, given that they also pulled out the Primal Rage. Hong Kong Attitude happy to take that, and now maybe that was the last fight AHQ could truly afford to lose.
That's a bit of an unfortunate resurrection for AHQ there. You already got the tactical visor out of Mui. Maybe it's time to pull back, cut your losses there. You have a little bit more time to play with. Really build yourselves up for one big push where you can just win the entire map and not throw your resources way too early.
Good pullback again from Hong Kong Attitude. They are respecting Dizzy's aerial control, but a Ting popping out the ult. That's Transcendence from Mango Jai, but they convert onto Dizzy off the back of it. Great boot from Keres, though. Could just save the fight for them. Hong Kong Attitude need to find a way to convert a few more, but getting Crappy, getting Hee, that's the way to do it. They need to stop him from remeching. The self-destruct button's nothing, and they do stop the remech. Self-destruct from Randy for good measure, but at 96, 97, they should be able to get it all the way to that 99, and this is good news for Hong Kong Attitude. Shylin closing Eric quickly. It trickles in from AHQ. Hong Kong Attitude just have to keep the point on lockdown, getting Rapid as he comes in. Now it's going to be the supports and Dizzy too. They're going to get Crappy. They're looking to close out on Dizzy, looking to close out on Keres, who has that sound barrier committed. Now they need to get Hee as well. AHQ keeping themselves alive in the fight, doing what they can to stall it out, give themselves opportunities, but Hong Kong Attitude aren't going to let them capitalize on those opportunities, and good heavens, another sound tactical visor. I call it sound barrier way more often than is normal.
Sound visor.
Sound visor. Tactical visor. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But it's 1-1. That's what matters.
I like to think of it as tactical barrier.
It's a tactical barrier.
That's what a wrestler has, a tactical barrier.
It's because I think the moment I start saying it, I hear Soldier say, "I've got you in my sights," and the S throws me off.
I've got you in my
sound barrier.
I got you in my sound.
It's the wrong sense. Like, I got you in my smell.
Well, we are getting to now the third and final stage of Lee Jung Tao. It's going to be Control Center to finish things off. 1-1, this could not be closer. And even right at the end there, we've had 2 back-to-back 99s to 99 percentages so far. And in that last one, look, that could have probably have been an AHQ victory, but Hong Kong Attitude, so resilient, they held out and pushed it all the way.
And you could say the exact reverse, right? For Night Market, it could have easily been a Hong Kong Attitude victory. So maybe no matter how you slice it, we would have been 1-1 here. But at any rate, 99 to 99 it may go to, but one team has to win it here.
It's going to be a slow composition coming up from Hong Kong Attitude, very shield heavy, but both teams going to be running the Junkrat here. Whoever gets the better spam damage should be coming out on top, but you got to favor AHQ because of the Sombra, except that Carriers is dead.
And now you've got to start respecting Randy's charge. I mean, we already know how good his Zarya is, and just look at how much work he's doing, especially onto these tanks who are constantly having to readjust. Rapid getting the wrap around though onto Mui is good, because Carriers is now able to come back in the fight. Yeah, that means EMP is a factor. That cuts those Zarya barriers out of the picture, but crappy low. He pressured out. EMP's in, but it's only Dizzy who can convert as they get a good catch on the Rapid, and Hong Kong Attitude goes swinging the moment the EMP comes out, plus they get the cap.
It was a really unfortunate execution from AHQ there. The only person that managed to get was Randy, and that's just because Dizzy was right on top of him. Now the spawn camp happens in Hong Kong Attitude, short of a really good EMP again, which Carriers has to recharge from scratch. This is very difficult to push out of.
And this is what Flash Wolves were able to do early in the season. They were running the Zarya Reinhardt, cycling the Graviton and the Earth Shatter. Dizzy looking to get a good wraparound with the self-destruct on the tire. Gets a ting. That's actually good something, right? Because that's the Earth Shatter. Now he's able to wrap around himself. But Shaolin, his own Riptire, looking to get something, gets crappy. So hey, call it a draw, right?
The problem we're seeing here is that still Hong Kong Attitude have double tank ults, waiting for the Graviton Surge to come out, waiting for the EMP response from Carriers as well. That has to be the win condition for AHQ. They need to get a good EMP in there. They need health pack control back in their favor. They get the little pack, now they've got to get the big pack and the actual cap itself.
And there's that Graviton still being a factor as they got crappy for a second time. And now they just got to hold on to these ultimates. AHQ know that these are still not being committed yet.
And this is the hardest point for AHQ to break out of. The Hong Kong Attitude spawn camp is so good when you're running both the Zarya and the Reinhardt, and even better considering both have the ultimates and a nano boost to boot as well.
And there it goes. There's the commit, sound barrier, and the EMP. They've got the tools to fight out of it, but the sound barrier on Hong Kong Attitude gives themselves legs in the fight. Now, it's just going to come down to who kills whom first. Spam damage is a big factor, but it's Dizzy going down just as he gets that Riptire available, and this, honestly, EMP getting charged up isn't going to be enough. They're now pushing 90%, losing Mui late, but they've still got the Earth Shatter and these other ultimates, plus they're getting these very late kills.
The biggest problem is actually the spawn control. Still, Hong Kong Attitude is just not letting go of this, even though the EMP was pretty good, even though they survived the Graviton Surge. It was Shaolin out-damaging Dizzy, and now Dizzy has to get a good return kill with his Riptire. If it's a big one, then maybe we'll see some action, but unfortunately, no.
Mui gets it, but there's the Earth Shatter in the mix. Carriers has been hiding to get an EMP out, but he doesn't actually have it yet. That hiding doesn't mean anything. They need to convert kills. Graviton unfortunately goes wide, and actually Randy gets through on that one. Now Carriers will be able to get the EMP up, and Hong Kong Attitude, they miss some ultimates. They don't convert on the ones that do hit. Now AHQ on the upper hand in this fight. Don't even need to commit the EMP, and if they don't need to, they won't commit it. Last ditch stall from a ting, but I mean, what's the use, right? You're just going to give away ult charge. You can't push that progress past 99.
You might have a situation in where AHQ feed Hong Kong Attitude a little bit of their own medicine. EMP now available, the power play, the power spike available for AHQ. This is where they look really strong, and right in the final moments when Hong Kong Attitude were threatening a map win, it's AHQ that pull it back. It's just got to slow things down just a little bit here, and Hong Kong Attitude looking for a new opening.
All they need though is one opening. And that could be all it takes, but we could just as easily get to that second 99-99. That's going to be the dive in, though, from Eric. Randy goes down. That was trying to be the pullback from Hong Kong Attitude, but just not getting out alive and losing a couple of members. AHQ pleased to get the fight win for nothing.
Yeah, and there's no Zenyatta on the side of Hong Kong Attitude, so no easy pickups. The real easy pickup that you can consider here has to be Randy, who loses all of his shield when the EMP comes down. Now, a big change up on the compositional end, so Hong Kong Attitude, they are now putting Randy in the team back onto the diving tanks. Riptide for Shaolin as well. No dice.
They demech Hee, which is supposed as something, but they'd spotted out the tire, so he wasn't able to get onto these backliners. Mui goes down in the 1v1, and AHQ definitely up in this fight as once again as the Riptire out from Dizzy. Oh, close out on 2. They almost didn't need it because they had already kind of secured the fight, but all's well that ends well, right? You're happy to extend that lead even further now.
And actually, the good thing about it was, despite not necessarily quote-unquote needing the kills, what it does do is force Ting back rather. When a Ting had the nano boost, he had to run away instead of actually leverage that nano boost. Mui going down early again. This is now charging Carriers' EMP even more, especially now we're reaching 90%. If AHQ uses EMP properly, win at the 90% mark, they're going to win the whole thing.
And how many times has Movie gone down in the flank? Huge dive by Eric and Rapid, completely surrounding Hong Kong Attitude, plus the EMP, instant closeout. Hong Kong Attitude, hold on, someone's on the point. Where's AHQ? They've got to convert. It's Movie on the flank, but now actually, now that AHQ have spotted him out, they've been able to pull back, and now Movie can't keep it alive himself. Hong Kong Attitude walked right into AHQ's trap, and you've got to expect that AHQ have won. You knew that you hadn't seen that EMP for what, 3 fights in a row, much like they had held on to that grab and that Earth Shatter. AHQ did the same with the EMP, and now it's just last gasp from a Ting, and now it's going to be Shylin and Mui. Shylin does get one, but he instantly goes down. Now it's only Mui and Mango Jai desperately trying to do it, but they just don't have the members. We're definitely not getting the kills, and again 99-99, but it's AHQ going 2-1.
And this is probably the closest one of the lot because both teams get there and then finish the game. Well, I mean, technically AHQ finished the game, but you have a situation where AHQ have to come back from a deficit of 99% 0 they started on, and 99 and 100 is what they finish on, off the back of some really good plays of Rapid getting kills. Carries' EMPs were effective, and suddenly their double shield composition, heavy tags from Hong Kong Attitude, just not enough to take them through all the way.
And I feel like the thing that really sold Hong Kong Attitude short a lot of the time there was they often didn't read AHQ's positioning well enough. You saw it right in that final fight. They weren't anticipating the wraparound from Eric and Karius both, and that ended up being what cost them, like before the fight had even started. You can chuck Mui on the point to try and get that sort of last-ditch situation, but that puts you at an even greater numbers deficit, really. And before that as well, there were all these fights that just weren't quite going the right way, and off the back of that, AHQ do secure themselves Lijiang Tower.
Now they avoid the worst case scenario where they have a potential loss against Hong Kong Attitude 0-3. They at least get that one map win. They're actually looking fairly decent in that they may still just beat Hong Kong Attitude all out. And this is expected to be very close anyway. So hard to say what's going to happen moving forward from hybrid onwards, but at least going into tomorrow for AHQ, they feel a bit safer.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And you've also got to read that fight there as well, where Hong Kong Attitude were like way, way ahead. They were at that 99. They had an Earth Shatter. They had another Grav come up. The Earth Shatter got a bit done, but they didn't convert kills. Completely whiffed the second Grav, and again, failed to read AHQ's positioning. Like, you're backing up, they're piling towards you, and you've got to go, wait a minute, where's Keres, right? You've surely got to be paying attention to these things, and again, it just kind of sold Hong Kong Attitude short at a couple of crucial junctures.
You know it's a whiffed, you know if it's a whiffed Graviton Surge when it only catches Crappy, the Lucio player, and then you don't even kill Crappy, the Lucio player.
Right.
He boops someone back, and then instantly, you know, saved by the Matrix as well. So it just was a real total misfire, and the Earth Shatter, it lands but not enough, doesn't secure enough, and everything that looked great for Hong Kong Attitude just doesn't work at the end of the day. The composition and the way they played the strategy was solid. Spawn camping is effective, but in the open space, that's when it's not effective.
And the thing we've got to see as well, Shylin is an amazing Tracer player. Mui is a good Tracer player. Mui was constantly dying on the flanks. And it wasn't just to Rapid, who is a great Tracer player. It was also happening against, racking my brains for the member, it was Keres who was playing the Sombra. Like, if you're dying that consistently on the flanks, then there's an issue. But they didn't want to put Shylin on the Tracer because they wanted to have him on the Junkrat. The Tracer was a good idea, it was necessary, but it just didn't get the mileage done.
Now AHQ as the away team get the next map pick, and it's going to be Numbani. The other thing that was sort of mentioned here is the home and away situation. You kind of mentioned that Hong Kong Attitude with the home side advantage may have an edge against AHQ, but now that AHQ pick up the map win on Hong Kong Attitude's pick itself, that would put AHQ again in a much more comfortable position.
And if you're Hong Kong Attitude, you kind of wish you'd been able to pick that map win up, right? The thing is, the payload-oriented maps have always been a decent point for Hong Kong Attitude. It's an area where they're able to often go off quite a lot. They're really solid on those momentum-based map modes. AHQ, though, the same is actually true for them, and that ended up being, if I'm not mistaken, what helped them pull it across the line in their series against Flash Wolves. Actually, it may have been the other way. It may have actually been, I think, that they got the control in the assault, actually, which is trying to rack my brains on exactly how that went. But at any rate, look, both teams do have a lot of positives going into this, but this is maybe one place where Hong Kong Attitude can actually do the same that AHQ just did and pull it back on the other team's map pen.
Well, we didn't see this last time between Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ. I can't remember the exact control we went to, but it was a
believe
AHQ.
it was Nepal.
It was an AHQ victory on the control, and then we went to Hollywood, and that was a Hong Kong Attitude victory. And then on the assault again, it was an AHQ victory before Hong Kong Attitude pulled out two map wins in a row in the escort and the final hybrid. But now it's going to be Numbani.
And that's the thing. You're not going to get to Hollywood until you take it to that 5th map, and that's only if you get that far. So Hong Kong Attitude, they've got to make the magic happen on Numbani, or they're really on the back foot. In fact, they would be at serious risk of getting 3-0'd, and I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world for them, I suppose, because at least they are fairly secure in their playoff spot, but for AHQ, that would be about as good as it gets in terms of winning your head-to-head against Blank tomorrow.
So it was Ilios that AHQ beat Hong Kong Attitude the last time they met, and then Hanamura that they beat them on Assault. So we went to Hollywood, Dorado, and Kings Road to finish things off. So far, Numbani is a new map, and I guess Lijiang in the same vein is a new map between these two teams in the season.
The one thing you do have to respect is, I mean, that series is exactly indicative of Hong Kong Attitude's strength on these payload-oriented maps. Hollywood was their pick, and they were able to pull it out in it, as was the Escort. But at the very end there, that was AHQ's pick. It was Hong Kong Attitude's win. And you've got to look more at game mode in a way than you do at the pick itself. Look, Numbani is the smart option for AHQ because they are very good on it as far as hybrid maps go. But that might not actually be enough to best Hong Kong Attitude still.
The thing is, this is a pretty decent map, all things considered, for AHQ. So if they can get the win on Numbani, they're kind of expected to take the win on Assault as well. That's where a little bit more favored against Hong Kong Attitude. And that might suddenly be the 3-0 that they're looking for against Hong Kong Attitude.
We're going to get the setup here with the Sombra as well, which I do very much like, just for how much it takes off the table for AHQ here. Notably being that Tourbillon turret. Well, that's a great set of rockets on the Shaolin. Yeah, it really hurts. Really burns some time off the clock, Hong Kong Attitude. Just going to have to wait for that respawn.
And AHQ not going to take too much advantage out of that just yet either. Going to allow Hong Kong Attitude a little bit of space. Now, you expect Shaolin to be able to get that respawn, and AHQ still waiting to fire their first shot, or rather their second shot technically, because Dizzy already fired that first one. Yeah,
it's really firing your first return shot, isn't it? And that armor economy can actually become a factor for Crappy if Hong Kong Attitude take too long. But there's the EMP. This is the one they want to use.
Who's the target, though? Because it's very spread out. You should be targeting the turret, except the turret's gone.
Yeah, he repositioned it because he read that the EMP was a factor. They do still kill Eric, though. Dizzy just barely staying alive, but they've got the catch-on carries anyway, and Dizzy's kind of pressured out anyway. Here he did at least receive the nano boost, but Hong Kong Attitude can still kind of stay in this fight. Mui looking to go off. Dizzy does pop Randy's mech, but they're still getting these kills through here, Hong Kong Attitude. Dizzy's, though, they're going to have to finally turn around and deal with this guy because he's actually well set up, approaching a tactical visor here as well. And these members of Hong Kong Attitude are squishy. They don't have many healers. The respawns favor AHQ. They're finally getting aggressive on Dizzy, going to be able to close out that kill, and that's going to be what puts Hong Kong Attitude properly ahead now in the fight.
And that's the most difficult death for AHQ as well, because they needed to keep Dizzy alive. He's got a tactical visor.
Oh, this
now
is
without
late.
it, yeah, it is very late because Crappy decides to go with the Molten Core. He's probably going to want to change off Tourbillon anyway, so not that much loss, but what you do lose is a lot of HP, which means you feed ultimates to Hong Kong Attitude.
Exactly, and you can understand popping the Molten Core because maybe you get a bunch of kills, but even then, you're still going to have to back off and change anyway. You might as well not pop it and therefore not risk giving away the ult charge if you don't get those kills.
It's a 50-50 situation for AHQ. They flipped the coin, unfortunately it landed in tails, but now they want to see if they can land a heads instead. They get the ultimates that they saved onto A, but now they need to utilize them on B, and actually a decent setup from Hong Kong Attitude to get a good flank on.
And Hong Kong Attitude have a huge number of ultimates available, and some great ones that really pull the rug out from under AHQ, and there they are getting committed first, getting the follow-up as well. Now, this is exactly what Hong Kong Attitude are after with all these ultimate stuff. That is how you convert off an EMP. There goes the gong.
And that's exactly, you know, positioning and setup is all it takes there. And that's the most important part of committing onto an EMP as well. Early hacks onto the end of the map already onto C. This is a good setup. Now Eric, or rather not Eric, but a team wanting to get the stall on against AHQ to make sure that prevent them from even touching this cart for last contest.
Yeah, and Eric does go in for said last contest, but he's just not going to get anything for it. They throw in a pulse bomb as well, trying to demech Randy, but he's able to throw out the self-destruct here. They commit the Dragon Blade as well. I don't know if it was necessary, to say the least, but they still get the kills, they still get the cap, and they've still got enough time and resources to get good momentum here.
You're still waiting for AHQ to stabilize as well. We've been sitting on this Dizzy Tactical Visor for what seems like 3 caps now. Now on the final cap, if he doesn't get a good usage here, it's just going to be a win for Hong Kong Attitude. You're also waiting for Carries to land that Transcendence because you're at a stage now where Mango Jai is nearly at the EMP, and the Transcendence may be the only thing to save them.
Well, Mango Jai is now at the EMP, and they already get the kills onto a Ting. It actually means the Tactical Visor doesn't get a whole lot, by the way, because Hong Kong Attitude pull back. That's actually pretty well reacted to by them to only lose 1 member and not even lose it to an ultimate.
And Hong Kong Attitude would be happy to pull back from that stage. This is what they're not too happy about. They're losing Mango Jai at this stage, allows further ultimate charge for AHQ, allows Dizzy to maybe get another Tactical Visor, similar to what we saw from Mui onto Gardens or Lijiang Tower. And now this is a big spawn camp.
Yeah, Hong Kong Attitude, they pulled back and they successfully got away from the fight, but they didn't actually regroup. They didn't wait to top off the health. They went, oh, we can go back in. AHQ won't be set up or anything.
They're doing a little bit better than setup. They're sitting up right in front of your doors, and that's where you're not expecting them. You walk out of the front door, and instantly AHQ pop out in front of your face. Now for Hong Kong Attitude, they've been waiting. They've been waiting to regroup for their own team. Mango Jai still sitting on this EMP, and you should be expecting it soon.
There it goes, but he goes down. They at least get Rapid, and Mui needs to get a lot done with this, but they didn't stop the Transcendence with that EMP, so yeah, hard counted. Now AHQ, kind of on the front foot in this one. Hong Kong Attitude still need to find their way in. They don't really have resources to get in. They've only got the sound barrier, and the aggression is here from AHQ. Hong Kong Attitude are constantly getting low before the fight even starts. Now Mango is going to have to change off the Sombra because they need the extra healing.
And by the way, it gets worse because look at the cart position. All of that early momentum, all of the early setup that Hong Kong Attitude had that they were rewarded with that nice cart push all the way into C has just been reset. They're going to do this all again, and AHQ are not letting up. They even can use the cart as cover now. That even makes AHQ's base defense or the spawn camp much more effective.
And they're still getting these kills, right? No one's actually shutting down Rapid here. Now Dizzy's got a Tactical Visor. Because this has taken so long with Hong Kong Attitude consistently failing to break out of this and giving away way more kills than is reasonable, AHQ have charged up ultimates while Hong Kong Attitude have got nothing.
This has been a huge turnaround, and AHQ is in a commanding lead. This is the best lead they've had all game. This is better than anything they did on A, certainly better than anything they did on B, and it's not ending anytime soon.
They're still getting it, and what that means is actually this sound barrier is too late. Crappy's able to commit his own, and Hong Kong Attitude didn't convert off theirs. He's low, but even if he does get demech'd, he gets to commit a self-destruct to get back in the mech anyway, and Hong Kong Attitude still need to find an opening pick.
And this is the kind of phenomenon that you see on King's Row sometimes as well, and if I'm not mistaken, AHQ is one of those teams that have spawn capped another team on King's Row C. They're just sitting at this point now. The card is completely reset. It's like you just can't be, and by the way, only 135 left. It's unlikely that you even finish the map.
I mean, it feels almost silly, doesn't it? A Ting having to pop the Primal Rage just to get into the fight. Randy has to commit the self-destruct to do the same, but he dies, so he can't remech and doesn't get any kills for it. 1 for 1, it's something. They took the Transcendence off the table, and actually now Hong Kong Attitude weathering the Tactical Visor. They get a bit of movement on the payload, but that's the thing. They're only just getting the payload back to where it was when they originally capped B.
Exactly, and it's been like 2 minutes, if not even more, where Hong Kong Attitude have just been sitting in their base, waiting to get out, waiting to push the card again, and now you're at the stage where Hong Kong Attitude should have been 2 minutes ago.
Again, Mui pulls out this Dragon Blade only for Keris to instantly commit a Transcendence. A Transcendence, by the way, that they convert kills off the back of getting CQB, getting the route now onto a Ting in Xiaolin, able to catch Mango Jai. They do indeed close out on a Ting as well. And now HQ can just set up the same spawn camp. This feels almost silly.
Yeah, well, it's about to hit nighttime and curfew is up for Hong Kong Attitude. That means they have to stay indoors, and AHQ get to be the enforcers that keep them there.
Man, Mui, patience, young grasshopper. Don't try and engage with the Dragon Blade. Try and close with the Dragon Blade. It's something Hong Kong Attitude know how to do. They're just not doing it today.
Now, 20 seconds remaining. Once again, the cart does start rolling backwards. This time around, it does allow Hong Kong Attitude to get a bit of a flank, though, and that forces AHQ back. So this is the change around. AHQ now need to reassess the positioning, and Hong Kong Attitude might just get the push they need.
That was not what Shylin wanted, though. Had to use that recall, but now able to get in. They're going to get that wrap around. They need to make something happen for it, though, because AHQ still have resources that Hong Kong Attitude need to respect. And one of those is the tactical visor that's going to close off on Randy. The sound barrier is something to keep them in the fight, but all they've got so far is Dizzy. They got Eric low, they got Kera's low, but they haven't converted the kills. Now, finally, with this Transcendence, they're able to keep their members alive just enough to close out on those 2 members of AHQ there, but they still haven't got the payload getting good distance. Now they get Hee, though. They need to start getting good momentum here. They need to use these ultimates that are about to come up.
Yeah, they're about to get this good momentum because Mui's about to hit the tactical visor. So is Shylin on the pulse bomb. AHQ got to respond. The bad news for AHQ is, despite all of the nice spawn camping, the card's nearly at the end. So maximum card distance is what's going to count, even if AHQ get a full hold.
The good news for AHQ, though, is they get all their respawns, which means they get a full contest. They've already got Mango Jai. Atingus to use the Primal Rage, but Transcendence from Carries means now nothing can contest Mui's tactical visor. He gets rapid. They got Dizzy too. Mui gets bumped way back, but he's not dead yet. In fact, he's wasted so much of Eric's time, but getting Shylin, Carries catching that is the saving grace, because now it's only Ating and Randy that can close out these kills, and this is where the respawn advantage kicks in. Killing Shylin may have just saved the game there for AHQ. Even with that self-destruct kill, it is no dice on that 3rd cap, which means no time bank, which means all AHQ need to do is get it to the end.
Actually, at the end there, you might even just give it a little bit of a leg up to Hong Kong Attitude, throw them a bit of a spoon, because throw them a bone rather, maybe a spoon too if you want to. Hell, why not? Because at the end of the day, despite the fantastic spawn camping, despite the fact that AHQ held for 4 minutes essentially at the front door of Hong Kong Attitude nearly capped, and that's a bit disappointing when you consider that the maximum card distance needed to be shorter, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter that Hong Kong Attitude didn't finish the map, they nearly finished it, and if they can just do their own defense a little bit better than AHQ, it's, you know, this is going to be kind of a bit of a mark against them, but only if it's going to end in a loss.
Yeah, the only unfortunate thing you've got to say about Hong Kong Attitude there is you do have to appreciate that that spawn camp felt way more effective than you think it should have been. I mean, it's a bit of shame on me if you fool me twice, right? Look, AHQ was smart about it. They had the resources to do it relatively safely, but it was still extremely high risk. And the risk was if Hong Kong Attitude adapt, if they break out at any point, if we ever so slightly mis-execute, then Hong Kong Attitude can crack right through this. We will be reeling, and Hong Kong Attitude would have had a lot of time. The fact that it lasted for so long, it was good play by AHQ, but it was a very, very drawn-out failure to adapt from Hong Kong Attitude.
And that's the thing for Hong Kong Attitude, right? Because actually they were ahead for the most part. They had a great A, or a reasonable A, a fantastic B, all things considered, an absolutely atrocious C, but the damage control was there. And because of good damage control, they managed to still get the cart nearly there. But this has to be the defense that counts now. None of that matters if Hong Kong Attitude cannot defend.
Exactly, and that's the thing they need to defend. And look, they've actually been able to first hold AHQ before, if I'm not mistaken, or at least come close to. Certainly they've been able to hold them on that Streets phase in the past. So Hong Kong Attitude looking to get the repeat performance.
Yeah, absolutely, because Hong Kong Attitude first held AHQ on Hollywood. Unfortunately, this is not Hollywood just yet, but you may still see some flashes of brilliance, some of that Hollywood tactic come out for Hong Kong Attitude.
I mean, hey, ideally Hong Kong Attitude don't get to take it to Hollywood because they close it out before that. But ideally for AHQ, Hong Kong Attitude don't get to take it out to Hollywood because they closed it out before that.
So actually both teams just don't want to go to Hollywood.
No one wants to go to Hollywood.
Both teams want to finish this by map 4, so who knows? Who knows who will come out ahead? Certainly Hong Kong Attitude don't want to be facing a 3-0.
That's a good commit onto Mui out of AHQ, and he just can't quite get the pull back. Now the rest of Hong Kong Attitude, because they were trying to save Mui, are a little bit extended out here. Dizzy's had the opportunity to get set up. Randy's been having to block him so that the rest of the team can wrap around. Now he loses his mech. That means only a team can be contesting him, and unless they get some kills through, it's just going to be Hong Kong Attitude getting split up and routed. Now Shylin totally on the wrong side of this fight, going to go down to Dizzy. That's a very quick cap from AHQ.
And very aggressive, and the target selection is so good from AHQ so far. This is a speed on through. You expect Hong Kong Attitude to get a good defense on B now, because that may be the only difference they can make here. Otherwise, C is going to be a bit of an issue. But for AHQ, great initial kill onto Mui, and then great setup by Dizzy after that.
Why do I feel like Hong Kong Attitude are constantly acting surprised here, right? Like, surely Mui should have been at least anticipating AHQ to get aggressive. You've seen what their picks are. I mean, you know exactly how they play as well.
Well, you can only get surprised a few times before, you know, eventually it's just standard play from AHQ. And standard play currently looks like AHQ rolling on through.
It is going to be the Nano Boost onto a Ting, but he's just not got anything with it. Now, AHQ having successfully pulled back, get to bite back with all of these ultimates available, getting the tactical visor before Mui has his up. And they got one so far. Actually, it's not quite enough out of Dizzy, unfortunately. Mui's starting to bite back.
Not enough out of Mui.
Yeah, it's not enough out of either, realistically. They're kind of just getting some distance. Neither team's coming up the better. I mean, when do Hong Kong Attitude dig in their heels, but also when do AHQ get the wipe?
And both teams are going head-to-head here because both sound barriers committed. You have to give the AHQ for the later sound barrier. That's going to give them a bit of an edge up, and that's reflected in the card movement now. That's reflected in the Hong Kong Attitude, ceding space and backing out.
The thing is, right, the card's been moving, but AHQ haven't been getting kills, and that means this entire street space has been Hong Kong Attitude ceding space. Like I said, when do you dig in your heels and fight? Because actually it's Rapid getting the opening picks when they choose to dig in their heels. Hong Kong Attitude, though, finally starting to hit back. Need to convert onto these DPSs, though, otherwise AHQ will just pull back and re-aggress. But there's the catch onto Dizzy, looking to close out on Rapid as well. At any rate, he's zoned out of the fight, having to really turn tail. Even the late kill on Eric, committing the tactical visor to do so. Maybe it's overkill, but they got the point secure. That's at least something.
Well, Hong Kong Attitude are really respecting AHQ now. So previously you might have said surprise. This time it's no surprise, it's just expectations. And one of the expectations so far has been that Mui has outperformed Dizzy, at least in getting these ultimate charges, because he's managed to get his second tactical visor while using his first tactical visor after Dizzy's.
Mui nearly going down though, but stays alive. Biofield down. Just looking to sit tight, get this set up, get this defense.
Now, good to see though AHQ get their own power spike as carries, and there's that Transcendence. Dizzy about to have their own tactical visor. At least Mui's in a decent spot here, and the rest of Hong Kong Attitude in a decent spot to protect him also. But you have to be concerned the cart will continue to move, especially with the Ting down.
Yeah, really big catch. Oh, and Xiaolin too, and on that, Hong Kong Attitude just start crumbling instantly. Randy immediately loses his life. At least the rest of them are sort of able to pull back. Mui definitely can't because he was up alone on that pillar. CQB, late death there, man. That's really unfortunate, and they've got the setup.
Speaking of late death.
Yeah, they knew that Mango Jai had to try and pull back in that through that angle, so now it's kind of the uphill battle for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, and Snowball works in two ways here. One, for AHQ, they get a lot of kills, they get a lot of ultimate charges, and B, for Hong Kong Attitude, they get late spawns, they get late staggered kills, and they just have to wait to regroup. Now AHQ are in position to finish this game once and for all. 5 ultimates online, nearly on the 6, and Hong Kong Attitude are just trying to dig in their heels anywhere they can.
Really trying and indeed struggling. A Ting already super low. They've got to find an end somehow, but Rapid already getting the kills. AHQ are just always taking the first move. They are getting in quick. They are decisive. They are proactive, and it's paying off time and time again. Now, Hong Kong Attitude, how many times will I say it? They're on the back foot in this fight. They get around the respawns, but AHQ held onto a lot of resources. Now it's going to be the last contest. The sound barrier out from CQB. A Ting trying to get on the point to contest, but Eric is stopping all follow-up, even getting Mango Jai for good measure. The self-destructs from Hehe and Randy. Randy's got to get something with it, but he doesn't. Hehe doesn't either, but the rest of AHQ do. And now there is no DPS on Hong Kong Attitude to close out any kills for all the stalling that these tanks have done. Now a Ting, the last one to fall on the point. That's going to be the cap through, and AHQ well earned to get themselves 2-0 up in the series.
Gotta agree with that one. There's no way AHQ should have lost this, considering how good their C defense was. When you have a spawn camp as commanding and so well executed as what AHQ has achieved, I mean, for AHQ to then not push on through on their own C attack would just be really surprising. That's when you're allowed to be surprised by AHQ.
And look, this is the playoffs caliber AHQ, right? This is the AHQ.
Scary.
Yeah, this is the AHQ that beat Flash Wolves. This is the AHQ that gave Ardian a run for their money. And it's not the AHQ that lost to Mega. That's the key thing. Whatever it was that went wrong there, they've addressed it. They've fixed it up. They're looking better.
And it's not without a couple errors there, but overall, look, ASU handled Hong Kong Attitude. That's why they're now 2-0 up ahead. That's why Hong Kong Attitude is staring in the face of imminent defeat in a potential match point 3-0 scenario. You want to talk about map difference here? This is when ASU get a really good map difference, and for Hong Kong Attitude, are not.
And that's the thing as well. I mean, even if you just want to look at the rivalry between these two teams, you know, map difference aside, look, Hong Kong Attitude can still make playoffs even with losing this. They've only got to beat Matchy. And that is, by the way, only if they lose this. But you go from, in the second half of Season 1, starting to beat AHQ, overcome them. At the time, it was an upset. Then you turned it into something that happened consistently. You did it again to AHQ before playoffs. And unfortunately, you couldn't get into playoffs yourself. Then you came out swinging. You still got the win against AHQ for the 3rd time in a row, but it was much harder fought. If the turnaround, AHQ getting that win back, happens in a 3-0, then it really speaks to the progression of AHQ.
Look at Hong Kong Attitude here. 24-22 is now also their map record after now picking up those additional 2 map losses. That puts them even with Blank Esports on their own map record, and actually AHQ are ahead of both 26-22. This is intense between these 3 teams. What is even happening here anymore?
And that's the thing, if you're going to lose this now, you actually want to lose it in a 3-1 so that you've at least won a map and then lost one so that you're still tied for blank. But at any rate, let's take a look at some replays now. This was on their attack here, Hong Kong Attitude. And there was a really great moment here where, honestly, Crappy just totally read that EMP was going to be a factor. You see him moving around here. He knows EMP is about to happen. A, he's safe from it. B, he baits Mango Giant onto his turret. C, he moves the turret. It's still a factor. The fight still goes well enough for Hong Kong Attitude, but it's a much harder fought situation from here, given that they wanted to get quick, fast closeout off the back of that tool. Took them a lot longer than they expected, and they took a lot of time to realize where Crappy had repositioned the turret to.
And by the way, they found out where the reposition was, and unfortunately Mango Jai found out the hard way with his face. Dizzy now set up with his turret. It should be another kill on the Shai Lin here, or rather a Ting, but when Dizzy has to run, this is when he gets into trouble. He's actually got a tactical visor here, so him staying alive is extremely important. CQB picking up the kill with the sound wave at the end is incredibly useful for the side of Hong Kong Attitude, because now the win condition for AHQ is gone, and then the commit with the Molten Core when the cap goes.
Yeah, just honestly way too late. And you've actually got to commend Hong Kong Attitude here. Like, for how clever AHQ's game plan was there, for how well it kind of worked out, Hong Kong Attitude was still able to overcome it. The thing is, like, there was so much mileage out of the Torbjorn, really, up until the Molten Core right at the end, because what happened is you baited the EMP into a position where they were prioritizing the turret over maximizing player coverage. Didn't even get enough on the turret. Then it got 2 kills. That's actually huge mileage, right? The unfortunate thing is they couldn't actually get anything else off the back of that mileage that the turret and Torbjorn play got.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing was Dizzy was caught on the wrong side. He was smart to go to where the turret was, because technically that's the safest place to be. You got a turret and a soldier there. That's difficult for Hong Kong Attitude to take down. But
you look at it and you're dead.
Well, when Dizzy has to actually run tail, though, when Hong Kong Attitude eventually overwhelm him, he's just caught in a bad place. If he tries to go through the narrow tunnel way, then the atrium, he's probably going to get killed because he can get surrounded. If he tries to dash through the cap, probably still just gets killed. And, you know, he had the tactical visor. That might have been the turnaround. Let's take a look at the next replay now. And this is going to be where 5 seconds remaining on the final push for Hong Kong Attitude.
And they start finally getting the cart back underway. The thing is, AHQ have set themselves up such that they will get 2 fights guaranteed. And even then, it's off to a good start, getting Randy. But they then now commit ultimates to not get any more gain. They get Mui as well, but Hong Kong Attitude start biting back. It's off the back of Shai Lin. He gets the extra kills, carries a bit too far forward, and now actually AHQ ended up just a little split. They were going for a rout, but Hong Kong Attitude, to their credit, really anticipated it. They got the closeout on He as well. And now it ends up being that the saving grace for AHQ is that they do get that full round of respawns, because the reality is, so did Hong Kong Attitude.
This is actually a decent push on through from Hong Kong Attitude, again, all things considered, because they were expected not even to get the cart this far. You have to commend Rapid, and it's interesting that even the player rivalries between Rapid and Shai Lin, because Rapid opened up this play. This was Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately, Rapid opened up the play earlier for AHQ because he stuck Randy's mic to give Tactical Visor to Dizzy, but now it's going to be Mui's turn to get the Tactical Visor instead, and this was a pretty fast one. Mui got 2 Tactical Visors in the space that Dizzy unfortunately got 1.
But the thing that was good, the thing that saved AHQ here, is Eric. Eric's prioritization to get those DPSs out of the fight was all they needed to eventually close it out, because suddenly you have that respawn flooding out the gate. A Ting and Randy are never going to do enough damage to all of those respawning members. It's hard enough for a tank to kill another tank, and those were the members that had survived the tactical visor out of Mui and the damage that came out of Shailin. It was actually pretty much unwinnable from that situation for Hong Kong Attitude. And that's how volatile that situation is. You've got those ultimates, you get kills, but if you don't have those DPSs, you can't actually convert the cap off those kills.
And now onto another replay. This is going to be on AHQ's own attack, and you see just how much pressure they have. Open straight up, Rapid the double kill onto both supports there. Getting the D-Mech onto Randy as well allows Dizzy to get his tactical visor, and the best part here for AHQ is the fact that they still maintain 3 ultimates despite getting a full team wipe against Hong Kong Attitude, and that's all off the back of great momentum, great snowball play.
And the thing is, Hong Kong Attitude, they committed all their ultimates as well. They only had the sound barrier as they came out the gate here. They were just barely able to get the self-destruct in time. They had a full round of respawns as well, but they couldn't get anything done with it because they just couldn't match in terms of ultimates. They were also positionally on the back foot because they were only just coming out of the respawn. And on the whole, it was just this really unfortunate situation. I don't want to say it's unwinnable because that's just not true, but certainly it was going to be a hard one to win, and of course they didn't win it, and a lot of it was committing all those ultimates before that, committing the Primal Rage in the preceding fight, the Tactical Visor 2, and the Pulse Bomb. They didn't have any damaging ultimates to actually get picks. All they really had was stall ultimates.
It's just not enough at the end of the day to get them across the line, and, you know, a well-deserved victory so far for AHQ, though that is now 2-0 in the series. Hong Kong Attitude unfortunately steering into the possible defeat of a 3-0 wipe from AHQ. We'll have to find out exactly how Map 3 pans out after this break. Thank you for sticking through that break with us as we're now heading into map 3 of the series between Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ. Next map is already up, Hong Kong Attitude's pick, Volskaya Industries.
And I think a smart one, an interesting one to say the least. One they're very solid on. AHQ are decent on this as well, but they're really looking to leverage the Sombra play, especially out of Mango Jai. Thing is, Hong Kong Attitude are pretty confident on Temple of Anubis as well. And I think the logic to not go there is because potentially of the Widowmaker play from Dizzy. It's kind of a hard one in general because there isn't exactly a map you're particularly favored on. Really, you're just going to the one that you want to play on today, the one you feel like you're going to be most comfortable on right now.
Yeah, and to give context as well, Hong Kong Attitude specifically dodge Hanamura here, which is where AHQ beat them last time these two teams met.
Yeah, always dodge Hanamura.
Against AHQ.
Against AHQ,
specifically.
Yeah. If you're against Blank, definitely go there.
Definitely don't go to Volskaya.
Don't go to Volskaya, yeah. Go
Why?
to...
Maybe you do, because if you watched Ardian versus Blank,
yeah, I don't know.
Volskaya
That was
today, maybe you do go to Volskaya.
Gee, well, if you're Ardian. Maybe not if you're Hong Kong Attitude.
I feel like I need a flowchart for all of these. Like, if then this. If not, then this.
The problem is, like, because all of these teams are kind of beating each other, like, there's this very triangular thing. It's kind of hard to say, like, that you do or don't do something in particular or not.
Triangle flowchart. It's just
triangular flowchart. You never get out. You never get out. Like you go in and he's not dancing this time.
It's the other robot. That's the wrong robot.
Ah, bamboo.
It's the guy on the left. It's the guy on the. I'm pretty sure it's the guy on the left.
Is it the wrong robot?
I
can't
no,
tell.
I
Maybe
don't
it's. Maybe it's a different angle. I don't know. I can't tell anymore.
We are looking to expect Mango Jai specifically onto, or even Millie, to be honest, onto the Sombra here. Both teams have the capability to do it. And I'm also kind of wanting both teams, though, to go to the Soldier Tracer because that's been the most interesting competition. Both teams can mirror each other quite well, and they have various strengths on the other side. And the player-to-player rivalries have been pretty fun to watch as well. Shailin versus Rapid has been great. Millie versus Dizzy as well has been really good.
And do you remember the Sombra cinematic? Of course you do. We see it like every single week. But you remember when that first came out before Sombra herself was revealed and she like hacks the giant robot and people were like, oh my god, can you do that? Oh my god. And people were like, man, what if you can hack the floating platforms? What if you can hack this? What if you can hack that? It's like health packs. You can hack health packs.
You can't hack the point. Imagine if we could hack the point.
You hack the planet.
Hack the whole moon.
Hack the moon. We're going to hack the moon. Well, it is going to be a Hong Kong Attitude, of course, on the Sombra and also on the defense first. Need to really bleed time off the clock here. Do not want to let this one get first capped by AHQ.
And it feels like for Mango Jai as well, he's going to need to hack the whole world to beat AHQ at this stage because Hong Kong Attitude are not looking in form. Certainly 0-2 down would speak to that. Now with AHQ set up in position as well, just going to get a little bit of camp pressure and still Hong Kong Attitude waiting for the EMP.
He's going to hack every man and his dog. And that's the thing, waiting for the EMP is the game plan here, and they've nearly got it as well. So they've kind of weathered the storm. They do need to top off Shailin, need to make sure they don't lose anyone just in this window, because Shailin's the key member to capitalize off the EMP, but there it goes out. No capitalization just yet, so actually if that's your one win condition, there we go, just barely getting carries on the back end. Now they actually want to get aggressive and route AHQ, there we go. Shailin follow up on Eric. They're going to get Hehe's mech as well here, may even close out on Dizzy, indeed they do. They're happy to just let Hehe live, force him to tank the dive there, or at least stagger out the kill, and there they go.
The difficulty of AHQ's composition is because they're running Soldier Tracer, which they're very favored to run, they have to go onto the opposite high ground, opposite the large health pack that Mango Jai as a Sombra play usually hacks. If you ran Genji Tracer instead, or any combination of your own Sombra or Reaper or something like that, then you can really challenge your health pack. So now, AHQ, they've got to play the long game, they've got to play the poke game. If they can survive against the EMP, that's where they're in.
Kind of rely on something like a Helix rocket pick, but the EMP already able to come back out from Mango Jai, but there's that pick. Rapid getting 2 with the 1, and there's no conversion just yet out of Hong Kong Attitude, only just getting 1 now. They have to commit a tactical visor to get more, but there's no one in his sights. They'll all kind of turn tail and run, and now Dizzy set up, looking to get everyone in his sights with that sound barrier out on his team as they convert onto Shailin, and Hong Kong Attitude kind of starting to crumble. The Primal Rage is not really finding anything. Randy does get back in the mech here, but Hong Kong Attitude kind of too lean for resources, should probably hold on to the sound barrier here, given that they aren't actually getting any trade kills.
And now Hong Kong Attitude might just have to give up this one, and AHQ are looking well set up here. A lot of Hong Kong Attitude members running towards B already. Mango Jai needs time to actually set up the cap, needs time to get the hack on the health packs, and certainly needs a lot of time to get this EMP.
A lot of time, actually. Yeah, actually not too much time now. It's 74%, and an early pick on the Rapid really stops up AHQ here. Don't know if the sound barrier was necessary, but they're using it to convert extra kills, so it kind of makes it a little bit worthwhile. They even get the kill credits there on the members that try and take the dive, which really helps the ult charge situation. So actually, the sound barrier ends up being quite justifiable given what they were able to charge based off it.
Did feel a little bit desperate though. Did feel like they were expecting a lot more, I guess, contest out of AHQ, a lot more firepower out of AHQ, which was just not the case. Dizzy still lacking the tactical visor. Neither of the AHQ supports on the defensive ultimates just yet. And now Mango Jai with that EMP is set up to snowball this defense further.
Looking to get the angle in though. A Ting already low. Needs to not go down. And that was Pulse Bomb unfortunately going wide from Shailin, but they instantly convert off the EMP. Very quick catch out. And he may not actually be able to take a dive. He actually gets booped, which is about as unfortunate as it gets. And that's a good wipe from Hong Kong Attitude.
The good news is AHQ saved the ultimates. The bad news is so did Hong Kong Attitude minus the EMP. And that's kind of the ideal EMP engagement that you want. Mango Jai very close to dying. Had he died there, AHQ probably would have been able to rush in.
Not even close, baby. And actually that puts them about halfway up to the EMP now, means AHQ, unless they get in basically right this second, will probably be fighting into the EMP. Certainly will likely have it come out at some point in this fight.
It should be going in here. AHQ, if they've timed it correctly, they should know that Mango Jai, in fact, does not yet have that EMP. And actually killing him, this is huge. They gotta go.
A Ting was forced back to that same health pack. It actually wasn't there. And Rapid was ready to follow up on Mango Jai. Self-destruct buys a bit of time for Hong Kong Attitude. They need to actually convert now. Sound barrier in from Crappy. AHQ have the resources to get set up, and they're getting kills through too. You feel like Hong Kong Attitude should have better positioning here. This is their defense, but they're just not getting anything at all in the trade kills. No one getting anything. Dizzy now with a tactical visor to close out these members that respawn, and they're a little bit over-reliant on the EMP is starting to feel. At least they will have it now, but they need to get something for it. They use the ice wall to try and block out the sightline from Dizzy, which is at least something. They do throw out the self-destruct here on Hehe. There's the EMP committed, but the tactical visor was able to come out before it, which means they struggle to get actual damage onto Dizzy. He's able to pull back, but finally Hong Kong Attitude able to get a Ting into the mix, and it took a very long time. It took a heck of a lot of resources, but it's only going to be a third for AHQ for now.
And that's probably still a win for Hong Kong Attitude in their books, because for AHQ you expected, considering how dominant they were on their push, to get the second third, to even threaten the third, the full cap out. You had the tactical visor coming up for Dizzy quite late, which is fine because he had firepower to finish the map. You have Milwee being forced to go onto a Mei, and by the way, the Ice Wall did a pretty good job of slowing Dizzy down.
The thing is, like, they were maybe a little over set up for the EMP, right? Because Mango Jai went down, and it's like, they just looked like they didn't know what to do at that point. Didn't even get a single return kill as AHQ were piling in. And they only used the sound barrier to get in.
I think though, for the amount of ultimates expended by AHQ, for the amount of effort expended by AHQ, to only get a third still really hurts them. Now can they get more?
It's already off to a bad start. That's the convert onto carriers though, and that could be all they need as well. Takes that Transcendence off the table, but they're losing members themselves, and Shailin's only one man. Dizzy still getting kills, and the sound barrier keeps AHQ in the fight now, looking to get that second third. They get a Ting as well, and again, Hong Kong Attitude, they're constantly splitting themselves up so that they can get these wraparounds, so that they can get these pincer maneuvers. But if you don't actually get the pincer, if you don't actually go for that play, you just end up having a lot of very scattered looking members. Nice placement on the self-destruct, but the bubble's there to block it out anyway. So AHQ just gets straight back on the point. Now they get carriers back in the fight with the respawn. Transcendence to keep them topped off. Something they can maybe convert some kills on, but Hong Kong Attitude in equal measure can start striking back, but it's Randy the first casualty. The self-destruct just continually zoning out Hong Kong Attitude, and they've still only just got the opportunity to stabilize now off the back of this blizzard and these kills from a Ting.
And actually a Ting killing Dizzy is a really big deal here. You had a situation where carries use the Transcendence. That's good stabilization from AHQ, but it's only a response to CQB's own sound barrier. So for AHQ, not enough firepower, not enough fuel in the tank to actually close out this map just yet. They do, however, get the second third. That's at least a good news for them. The bad news is 1 minute remaining to actually close the map.
And there is that EMP. Like, they've got the right kind of tools here, Hong Kong Attitude. They only really need to hold out that one last defense, but AHQ have been able to get these thirds off these good attacks. So if they can just get one last good attack, then they can arguably get that last third.
Carry's going to be the hog as well. No, probably not enough time to get the full hog up. Shylan going down early is nice. And if a good hook comes out of Carries, you might stop Mango Jai as well.
As the EMP though, so no hook, and they are getting these conversions. Actually losing a couple of members. Actually, sorry, that was only the mech from Randy getting threatened. Mango Giant does go down, but they've got these kills coming through now. AHQ losing the members. He not quite getting back. Oh no, just barely by the skin of his teeth. The AHQ have stayed in this for now, but they did lose some members there. They're only just getting the respawn in for Dizzy, and this is the window still for Hong Kong Attitude to convert AHQ. They had to kind of stay in till the end here, given that this is the only time they had left. But now, when it counts, Hong Kong Attitude, Death Blossom to close it out, secure it. 71.6 is going to be the maximum percentage on the point. And it puts this in Hong Kong Attitude's end of the court now.
Got to commend Hong Kong Attitude for that successful defense at the end of the day, because they survived all of the attacks from AHQ. They made sure AHQ didn't get additional value out, and just when you thought twice in a row AHQ, they're going to finish the map, they're going to close this one out, they look so dominant here. Small things, small decisions that were made on the Hong Kong Attitude side stopped it up. Little individual kills going onto the Mei from Louis as well, which kind of looked a bit shaky. Even the Blizzard coming out in one of the defenses. Small stuff like that really gave Hong Kong Attitude the mileage.
And look, it was pretty hard fought as well, but you've got to commend not letting the full cap go over, because a lot of those situations where fights where AHQ could have got the full cap, and indeed against a lot of teams would have got the full cap. So Hong Kong Attitude stopping that full cap, giving themselves the opportunity to just out and out win if they can beat that percentage is definitely worth commending. But the thing is, AHQ in equal measure could just full hold them on A. They could also full hold them on B, well shy of that 71%.
Yeah, it's definitely within the realm of possibility. We're not going to see a time bank scenario like we did on Hanamura the last time these two teams meet. So it will end here. Somebody has to fully cap out, or somebody is not going to cap out at all. It's going to be crappy back on the Torbjorn as well. So buying a lot of time onto A is definitely part of this gameplay.
You wonder if we're going to see the attack Sombra here actually out of Hong Kong Attitude. It is something they do. It is something they're quite good at, of course. They were actually the first team to pull out an attack Sombra in OPC. That was back in Season 1, and it was actually on Temple of Anubis too, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, they might actually adapt onto it, because once the turret is sighted, once Crappy is sighted on the Torbjorn, rather in this case Dizzy, so I'm wrong, and it corrected, because the last time we saw Volsky, it was actually Dizzy, so that makes a lot more sense now. When you do see that, that's when Mango Jai may be expected to say, okay, it's Sombra time.
This kind of feels quite all in actually from AHQ, given that they, I mean, the Torbjorn is, it's not fair to say he's just not DPS, because you can put out good damage, but they're also subbing carries onto that Sombra. They're really relying on damage doing the work here.
And by the way, we have seen this before, and it has been successful before, so I don't want to count out AHQ too soon just yet. They can really snowball this composition quite effectively when the armor comes up, and especially with an opening kill onto Mango Jai. This is now probably the end of the push for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, it's the armor and the EMP as well, and now AHQ just looking to get a wraparound of these members. They do take down the turret, but that's not really a kill per se, because honestly Dizzy can just set it back up. Hong Kong Attitude do good to not get completely routed there, given that Rapid was looking for that wraparound, but still time lost.
The best part now is the EMP is up and available. Dizzy protecting the Mega Pack room as well is really important, but how are AHQ going to dive onto this team? The engage here and the execution is what's going to really count. Here comes the EMP.
That's a very nicely placed one, an instant conversion. Hong Kong Attitude, you've got to be expecting these kinds of plays. They do wipe, so honestly, AHQ don't really get much more ultimate charge, but they've still got just enough to jumpstart the ult economy.
And that's the, it's good damage control once again by Hong Kong Attitude to say, okay, EMP's out, probably going to lose. Everyone jump off the end. Only lost one member, which means only one member's worth of ultimate charge goes over to AHQ. The next ultimate in rotation has to be the Molten Core. That's what's going to save AHQ's bacon right now, or Hong Kong Attitude can actually push on through.
They need to find an opening pick though, and honestly, Keras and Rapid are constantly pressuring these flanks. Makes it really hard for Hong Kong Attitude to actually complete this setup maneuver, but now they've started to react, started to sniff it out. Shylin covering the back flank. AHQ looking to get aggressive on the front line now with this Primal Rage running. They need to displace some of these members. Close out on Shylin, that's pretty much ideal for them actually. He's one of the huge moments here for Hong Kong Attitude to get aggressive. So without that, AHQ just getting the close out of Mui as well. Hong Kong Attitude have to pull back once again.
And this needed to be an important fight for Hong Kong Attitude. That was when carries didn't have EMP. So if you had forced out the Molten Core from Dizzy, even if you disengage, even if you exit, that's one less ultimate that you now have to deal with. But because that wasn't the case, Hong Kong Attitude coming in with the big 6. But will it be enough? Because an EMP, a well-placed one, could shut down everything.
You got to consider, which is it going to be? And every single time so far, Hong Kong Attitude are kind of been caught on the setup. That's a very early Transcendence. They're just looking to get aggressive and convert fast. Sound barrier out from AHQ, and the Pulse Bomb goes wide, but they catch Mui, who is trying to use the Tactical Visor. Now here comes the close in from AHQ.
Good response.
Hong Kong Attitude, yeah, have to kind of fight their way out of it. The Sound barrier is a good response, and the conversion on Eric is exactly what they need. Now Dizzy may want to commit the Molten Core, but it's probably a little late. They can't quite get the convert off that EMP, and he does commit the Molten Core, but the turret's not set up. Dizzy himself is just, I don't know, a lot of health, I suppose. Self-destruct from Randy to make sure it happens. Not sure if it was necessary, but it is committed.
He's winning the 1v1.
There was actually a turret. They kind of are. They're staying just barely in it. Dizzy never quite died off that because Randy had to take time resetting the mech. The turret was actually still in that one, only doing a little bit of damage, but it was just enough. But the late kill on Rapid, Mui re-entering the fight, and the closer respawns for Hong Kong Attitude should amount to them securing the cap. Even as the self-destruct comes out, last ditch from Hehe.
This is actually a really good stall, even if Hong Kong Attitude do cap it eventually. AHQ can be happy that they force the overtime, so no matter which way the dice falls now, this is a win for AHQ, and certainly something they'll be quite happy with going into the B defense.
It is still AHQ a little bit scattered just because they are only going in for contests. They're not actually really setting up adequately for what would be a resounding fight win, right? They're just sending members in one by one. And even demeching Randy here probably isn't enough to make this worthwhile, I would say. You push it to overtime, sure, but look at how much ult charge Hong Kong Attitude are allowed to get for it. They've still got a whole 4 minutes to get what they need on B. I don't know if, I guess Randy resetting makes sense enough, and even so.
I'd say it's worth it considering that AHQ got enough ult charge themselves. Don't forget, they did damage while they were still stalling, so both teams got ult charge, but only AHQ stalled out the time. Only AHQ can now really take advantage of the time that Hong Kong Attitude lost. Less than 4 minutes now, an overtime defense on A. This has so far been good in AHQ's side.
It has, but of course one good push can do it, and that's what AHQ need to be aware of. If Hong Kong Attitude could just convert the right kills at the right time, and well, getting Rapid is one of said kills. Dizzy goes down in the Pulse Bomb. They need to shut down that turret, and it's just not getting the sightlines now as they keep converting the kills. Demeching Hehe. Sound barrier, it can't do too much for this team now. EMP comes out, but who can convert off it? Rapid's only just respawned, and Eric's busy trying to dislodge Mui to no avail. Now Hong Kong Attitude are the ones set up. Losing Shaolin doesn't hurt them too much. They've still got Mui. They've still got the healers in this. Happy to get a third. Happy to get 2/3. AHQ. Now it's the last ditch moments. Rapid running around this point. Can't get a foot back on it when it counts. And Hong Kong Attitude setting themselves up in their own defense. And AHQ had them on the ropes on A, but the cap still happened. And 4 minutes turned out to be more than enough time for Hong Kong Attitude.
And that needed to be the kind of push that Hong Kong Attitude, or rather AHQ had against Hong Kong Attitude on their own attack and defensively. AHQ was set up to win. They had the Molten Core, but Dizzy died despite the turret getting buffed up. Carriers had the EMP, but where was the contest? Where was the EMP play? There was just no setup. After a full 4 minutes on A, where they had great EMP contests, suddenly onto B, they dropped the ball. That was a really hard-fought victory by Hong Kong Attitude, and it's unfortunate to think that they only got it at the end because AHQ consistently misplayed themselves, or rather just misfired in the final moments, and now 2-1.
The reality is, look, it was also Hong Kong Attitude's good execution. Let's just remember that. And picking up that win does keep them in this one. They get to go to a map 4. But you've got to keep in mind as well, like I said, 4 minutes ended up being more than enough. But had that not been then the cap on that initial push, they still had plenty of time to maybe do it. All you need is one good one. There's enough time in that situation to do that. That's why you maybe have to question taking the overtime to A. It takes some time off the clock, but that's probably not enough really to turn it around.
Oh, I don't know. I think it was, but
It
we're going to have
comes
to
with
go
no
into the
guarantees, at
replay
least.
now. This is going to be a situation halfway through that A offense from the AHQ side. Rapid started things really well here with the double kill onto with the pulse bomb rather, and still you're having a lot of resources being expended here. Crappy and Curious both with the ultimates here. Dizzy with the tactical visor, and they're just able to get so much mileage here, while Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately, cannot defend.
And you've got to go back to that thing of, getting taken by surprise. I mean, they actually had some successful fight wins preceding this, so it's not quite that one-sided, but ultimately, when it started to go the way of AHQ, Hong Kong Attitude often just looked a little bit lost, looked like they didn't quite know where to position to either recover the fight or at least safely back out of it. That's been a really common thing here. When AHQ are winning, Hong Kong Attitude look like they're in complete disarray. They kind of lose all control and discipline. It's not quite that one-sided. They're not really losing discipline, but it certainly looks that way, and it is affecting their performance in the fights.
Yeah, well, that was one of the good moments from AHQ4. They had a really, I guess, a much better A, all things considered, when you compare both the teams. But really on B is where the difference was. So when you see AHQ on B, they had a lot more time. They had nearly 6 minutes going into B, and that's even 2 more minutes than Hong Kong Attitude had.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with their own attack, they had a couple of good ones, but it just came down to micro stuff that Hong Kong Attitude did to stall up the cap and really use the defender's advantage with the respawns to overpower AHQ. So AHQ, they nearly got it, and their attacks maybe even should have got it. We might see it here.
Oh, and that's the thing, this is where they get that second third. They push it up to that 72%, but that was as far as they got it. They did it in spectacular fashion though, because they completely neutered the EMP. It was just in a little bit too deep. Good pulse bomb onto Carries, but what you'll see later is actually he ends up rejoining the fight with the Transcendence. It's kind of nothing short of a miracle really that Hong Kong Attitude are able to turn this back around, but like you said, it ends up being micro plays. One of which was that ice wall that blocked Dizzy's sightlines for just long enough for them to get a couple of members back onto the point without them just straight up dying instantly. One of those members, crucially, is Randy, who gets the stall with the self-destruct. Again, it creates space. Dizzy doesn't actually get Randy as he's out of the mech, so Randy gets back in it. The sound barrier can come out. They buy themselves the time. They buy themselves a little bit of safety, and they do get these members back on. It's still dicey from here, but at least now Hong Kong Attitude aren't bleeding members every time they come back in. Then they start getting some counter trades.
Yeah, and the Blizzard comes out here as well just to secure things because it still wasn't really over just yet. And with Dizzy and Crappy going down and Carrier's already on his way back as a Roadhog and not a Zenyatta, there's no more sustain. You need sustain to close out that A attack, or the B attack rather. But that's one of the pushes where it really should have been AHQ. The tactical visor at the end, blocked out by a respawning Randy and a mech. That 4-second matrix just completely nullified the entire thing. Took so long for Randy to go down, and even when he did, had a self-destruct. They couldn't kill him before the remake, and unfortunately, then the sound barrier coming through, and everything falls into place for Hong Kong Attitude.
It was all the right things at all the right time, but all it really is one back on the board, and it keeps the hope alive. It's AHQ's pick now, taking it to Dorado.
Let's not forget, or rather underestimate how important that one map win for Hong Kong Attitude so far in the series is as well. Now moving into tomorrow's events, it was really important for Hong Kong Attitude to at least get this one map.
And that's actually, you're completely right, very, very significant. Ideally, they need to lose 3-1 at worst. I know that sounds really silly, but it's because of that overall map record, right? Because it is going to count. If AHQ win here, we got ourselves a 3-way tie. It ultimately gets resolved tomorrow because Hong Kong Attitude play matchy, and if they win that, they're tied with the winner of blank AHQ. If they lose it, they would be tied with the loser of AHQ, and in both situations, that map record would be the only thing that determines whether or not they make playoffs.
This is so tight now on AHQ, even if they lose the series, even if it's a reverse sweep from Hong Kong Attitude, the fact that they picked up the 2 map wins then gives them a really good record for tomorrow as well. So I think at the end of the day, Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ both come out winners in some way.
In some way, absolutely. That's the thing you've got to appreciate here. It's this marginal situation, right? Because that map record becomes a factor. And it's only a factor because of how closely tied these teams are right now. It's happening in the gameplay itself. It's reflected in the match records and the map records, not just against each other, but against everyone else in the tournament as well. I mean, frankly, this is a tournament end befitting of these 3 teams. but naturally only 2 can make it through. And it's going to hurt to be the one that doesn't get it because of how close it's going to have come.
It's going to feel that much sweeter for the 2 that do, though, as well. And that's the thing, you know, the flip side of that coin. It sucks for one team. It's fantastic for 2 teams. And from a story perspective, it's probably the best way you can write the story for Season 2 so far.
Absolutely. This is, from the get-go, a very different tournament to Season 1 in terms of the overall talent pool, in terms of the number of teams that have had the opportunity to make it into playoffs. Even just the structural changes that have affected so much. The entire standard of play has increased massively, and it's been a ride from start to finish. And now that we are approaching that finish, the ride is still as exciting as ever.
You wish all roller coasters could feel like that, but now you're slowly approaching the end. And actually the end is where the most exciting part happens. Still though, let's see how we do for the remainder of this map. Back onto Dorado. And this is where Hong Kong Attitude in the previous meeting of the 2 teams were also able to turn around. So if history repeats itself, we're going to a map 5.
And this is an interesting one from AHQ, opting into the Mercy, but running Dizzy on the Soldier, they're valuing that, which means he's not on the Pharah. So there isn't as much safety for Crappy on the Mercy.
Well, this is what we saw out of round robin 1 AHQ, where Crappy wanted to run in the Mercy, even without the Pharah. There was just a lot of situations where this is now a bit of a pick for Crappy.
Speaking of pick, it's Mui who's the first casualty, and now Dizzy. It's kind of hard for him to be dislodged. Ting and Randy could die for it, but with no one to kind of secure the damage on the ground force of that, Hong Kong Attitude just end up getting stopped up for the time being.
This is good cart position for AHQ to really defend as well. This is going to stop Hong Kong Attitude from really getting the corner around into the archway. If the cart moves towards the archway, that's when AHQ got to start really falling back. But now, you get a lot of free damage, and Dizzy already on Tech Visor. Mui, not even close.
And that's the thing, it's that free damage, plus it means they've been able to get the res nearly available as well, so Hong Kong Attitude kind of have to fight uphill just to get it through to this archway.
Now get a little bit of a flank from Dizzy as well, and mind you, damage boosted from the Mercy boost onto the Tech Visor is extremely deadly, but have a bit of a rotation now on Hong Kong Attitude. Are going to take the high ground behind AHQ, but who's pushing the cart?
Exactly, they're finally getting someone down to it, but that does give them a numerical disadvantage on this high ground play they're going for. So the nano boost onto the Diva, maybe not your ideal target, but Hong Kong Attitude lasting through it, picking Rapid as well, thanks to that Transcendence. Dizzy, though, still able to get aggressive, gets Randy, but the Self-Destructor is there. He gets 2 for it. The alleyway was too narrow. There was just no good retreat path for AHQ. Great spot to catch them out in, and they're able to get the payload back underway. That is exactly the kind of fight you want from Hong Kong Attitude.
And the worst part is Hong Kong Attitude, well, rather for AHQ, they position in a way where Crappy and nowhere to run. Randy's Self-Destruct killed him, so no res. The res could have made all the difference, and actually this cart, despite being held up for so long, is nearly there.
Eric's going to go in for the contest. They've got a lot of tools to do this, so this is a very smart one, but if they lose the members, it'll all be for naught. And it is them losing the members as Mui converts. Tempo res out, but Dizzy dies immediately afterwards. Now they just can't raise any more members, right? He may get one back with that self-destruct, but it's probably not going to be enough here, even as Eric gets another. And this is still actually, look, it's time on the board, but it's ult charge in the pocket of Mui, who just committed a tactical visor. Ting gets a kill. Eric's still going to go down here in the end, even though they demech Randy. They're staggering out a lot. The time is a factor, sure. I guess it's the trade-off. I don't know if it's worth it, though. Even Dizzy committing an ultimate.
That probably, the last one from Dizzy is probably the only unnecessary one. Everyone else, though, that was buying time and really taking down that timer for Hong Kong Attitude. So yeah, that's kind of working there. Now Dizzy with the late death is actually going to hurt AHQ in the next setup for B.
And wasn't doing it because he was going to be changing either. He's sticking on this Soldier. Crappy now also going to change off onto the Lucio. So they get a little bit onto this high ground, but they don't get as set up as they would like.
That could have been a different story, though, if AHQ somehow managed to stay alive a little bit longer, then Dizzy's tactical visor is really worth it. Now, though, they have had the time to get the high ground sorted while the cart movement has just stopped for, I guess, a temporary while. Rapid can't do anything else about that on the ground.
Yeah. And now with the payload back on the way, really the onus is on AHQ to make the move, but Mui over the edge. That's a little unfortunate. It's even numbers, but that's a good eat on the pulse bomb out of Xiaolin. Now they still need to find another way to get into this fight here, Hong Kong Attitude, if they want to keep this momentum. Randy has to commit the self-destruct. They need a DMEC here, and they do, catching Eric as well in the self-destruct. He had the nano boost on him. That is huge for them as a team able to go off in the backline as the Shaolin, and it turns out Mui taking a dive was really just for style points because Hong Kong Attitude not getting stopped up just yet.
And unfortunately, there's nowhere to really take a dive, so shooting himself in the face with the Helix rockets is probably how he actually went down. Despite that, though, AHQ, they just don't have the response. That should have been a player advantage that they can actually take advantage of. It's just not the case. And now we're back in the same situation that AHQ were onto A, which is this kind of final moment stall that they can achieve.
And they're really just sending members into the wall here. Eric, not quite getting closed out on. The tactical visor from Dizzy isn't really getting too much either, and now they do close out on Eric. Now Dizzy having again committed that ultimate doesn't find much. Self-destruct only buys space, but it's space they can't do anything with. Now that that tactical visor's run out, Rapid had been dead at the moment that came out as well, and it's still Hong Kong Attitude getting these kills. Still Hong Kong Attitude charging up the ultimates. Now they get the cap too, and still getting very late kills on the side of AHQ. This is huge momentum-wise for Hong Kong Attitude.
AHQ need to stabilize. They need to find a position where they can dig their heels in and stop this cart properly. Carries now doesn't have any ultimates onto the Zenyatta himself, and there's just nothing alive on the AHQ side. They need something to use. Maybe a pulse bomb from Rapid could actually be the difference, but losing Hehe so far and not actually cleaning up the baby diva, this is going to force Hehe to waste a lot of time trying to remake.
Yeah, he's going to walk back to the spawn to do it, but they know that that's coming too, so they catch him on that one. Now AHQ actually lose even more time because they were trying to cover his retreat rather than contesting the cart. They may only get one last fight here.
2 minutes 28 remaining, so all the stall that AHQ have done does add up to this and does mean that despite Hong Kong Attitude potentially pushing on through, it's not the best time, but for AHQ, you want a little bit better than just stall. You want a full defense.
And Rapid being the first casualty, it means it kind of makes up for Shaolin's Pulse Bomb going wide. They get Eric as well with Primal Rage running, and Hong Kong Attitude still have such deep pockets here. They don't even need to use half of what they got. Murray's got a tactical visor for style, but it's Randy with the self-destruct that's going to secure it at 2 minutes 01. It's pretty incredible time for Hong Kong Attitude, especially when you consider how long it took them to get the card underway in the initial position.
Randy's got to be the MVP here they got to talk about because on A, Randy was the one that opened up, double kill self-destruct. Most important kill was onto Crappy with the res, who didn't even get to use the res. That could have been a different fight. Then at the end again onto C, triple kill to secure things out, and still no stabilization from AHQ, and they had the whole map to try and do it, but the pressure from Hong Kong Attitude just a little too much.
Now Hong Kong Attitude, all they need to do is either run down the clock well enough that they only need to get one fight win at that last moment on C, where they've got that huge respawn advantage, or just find another place on the map somewhere to dig in their heels and fully hold out AHQ. Both are the possibilities for them. Both are perfectly adequate win conditions. Once again, much like on Assault, they've set themselves up to secure out the win here. They just need to make it happen.
The difference on A has to be the talking point here for Hong Kong Attitude because they got held up for a decent amount at the start when that was AHQ with Dizzy and Crappy on sort of the backside of the battlements here on the high ground, just making sure no one from Hong Kong Attitude could actually push on through. It took a very long time for the car to reach the archway. When it finally did, that's when they got a lot of distance, but until then, a lot of time was gone.
A lot. The thing you've got to say though, the fight that they did set up for that eventually got them underway was exceedingly clever. They knew that AHQ were going to try and wrap around and kind of play swapsies, you know, because they wanted that high ground for Dizzy. Hong Kong Attitude, sorry, really kind of mind-gamed out AHQ. They knew what move AHQ would make as a reaction and took advantage of that.
For AHQ, it might have just been better to hold their ground, not even to make the rotation play at all, because it actually trapped them in a really bad spot. Maybe an opportunity to redeem themselves. Now, one good pick from he might make the difference, but now the Pharmacy, Dizzy back on Farah.
Yeah, not going to get the pick, and that does mean he has to swap off. Nearly actually got picked himself, by the way.
That would have been very hurtful. That would have extremely slowed things down for the AHQ side, but how does Hong Kong Attitude deal with Pharmacy? They actually have good tools. One good Discord, and Mui getting a few shots on Dizzy could be the trick, but so far, Hong Kong Attitude's getting pushed back.
Yeah, they're actually not getting that Discord or getting those shots, and it means they have to abandon that more favorable position for Mui. He's going to have to pull back around, and this is exactly what AHQ actually did to Hong Kong Attitude last time around. and they're able to control this courtyard space really well with the Pharah. Now it wraps around the backside. They're just looking to kind of pincer in on Hong Kong Attitude.
And so far, this has been a quicker attack from AHQ, considering the card position already. The Hong Kong Attitude are arguably better set up than AHQ were, especially on the later part of where A is. Still though, where are the ultimates? Still yet to see. Any Mango Giant should get the first one.
Absolutely should, and it may just be the saving one as well. Need to get some way to get a leg up in this fight to start closing out kills, because they actually need to properly stop up AHQ here. It's not enough to just siege ground constantly, but also not die. You got to get something done, and off that Transcendence, they're still not actually getting anything done. Don't quite close out on carries. D-Mech on Hehe, not quite going to happen either. And even then, AHQ do have ultimates that could preserve those lives, so Hong Kong Attitude just not quite getting anything. The Pulse Bomb gets eaten by the defense matrix, and now this is AHQ's turn to get aggressive.
Exactly, because Hong Kong Attitude, they use the ultimates, they didn't get the mileage, and Hong Kong Attitude, or rather AHQ now with the full 6 coming in, Resurrection in hand as well. Even if Dizzy goes down here, it doesn't really matter, but still.
Well, it does matter if Crappy also goes down. That should be the res to come out if they want to stay in this. Maybe it has to be, right? He's got to get so many if he gets this up, right? There it goes in, but he doesn't actually get back in the mech, which means he's now the first casualty. Sound barrier from carriers trying to buy these DPS members some mileage, and they don't really get anything with that mileage. Crappy goes down. Hong Kong Attitude very much stable off the back of that.
It's a really good stabilization, specifically shining with the Pulse Bomb kill at the end there as well. Looked like AHQ, despite the res, just wanted to back themselves out. You could tell that Crappy was waiting for Hehe to die, but Hehe just didn't die quickly enough, so he said, okay, we're going to get the triple res while I can. Even if he had res Hehe though, unfortunately he would have res without the mech, so all in all, not a bad play. Crappy swaps off regardless, so it doesn't matter.
As does Dizzy. I mean, the Pharah, it got them into the courtyard, but it couldn't get them through it, and you've got to think, I mean, that should be the place where that's more likely to happen, right? It favors the Pharah, but now a Ting getting mad on the ground, trying to get the wraparound here on AHQ as the self-destruct out from Hehe makes some space for them, but doesn't actually get kills. Not anything too bad just yet, but Kara's the first casualty now. Has a closer respawn, but Hong Kong Attitude still in control of this one very much. AHQ kind of struggling to regroup, to recoalesce and get kills through. And that's actually Rapid going down and AHQ having to retreat again.
This is such a difficult push for AHQ now. This is not where you want to get stopped up. You should already be on B. Hong Kong Attitude now seriously threatening to just full hold A against AHQ. We're still looking for options. Now finally though, Dizzy, despite changing onto Soldier rather late, is about to hit the Tactical Visor. Crappy about to hit the Sound Barrier rather, and they may just get an edge on Hong Kong Attitude if they can get them soon.
They absolutely do need those, but Shailin could just shut that door on them with a good Pulse Bomb. There's the self-destruct out from Randy as well to create that space. Gets back in the mech, crucially, and that's the Sound Barrier out from both sides. They need to preserve Hehe, but they don't. He's down. Now they can get aggressive. Good pick on the Shailin though, but Mui's the one getting the damage in. Now Rapid's got to get a lot of work done because Dizzy unfortunately did not for his team. They are still getting some kills in here, but a Ting could preserve his life with the Primal Rage. Carries is low, pulling back to lick the wounds. No goes down. He only just gets back in the mech, and Hong Kong Attitude have still got all these members here. The respawns are closer for AHQ, but their members are dying, and now there's a Transcendence on Mango J, and they're looking to do it. They're looking to hold them shy of point A, having fully capped themselves with 2 minutes, and in an even more commanding way than the last time these teams met on Dorado, Hong Kong Attitude tie it up and bring it to match point themselves.
Oh man, Hong Kong Attitude, when it really counts, man, they really know how to play, and this is such a good point A hold, and AHQ just consistently falling short. They couldn't find the options here. The Pharmacy wasn't good enough. The Soldier Tracer wasn't good enough. It didn't seem like any point for AHQ was enough to get them through A, and they needed to get past A because they didn't even fully hold out on their own defense, and they're not being able to cap out on the A point is a real heartbreaker.
And when you're AHQ, you sat here at match point 2 games ago and you just weren't able to close it out. And now you're on the cusp of getting reverse swept. If I'm not mistaken, it would be the first reverse sweep in the tournament. And Hong Kong Attitude now tying it 2 for 2, get to take it to the home pick for that final hybrid as well. You've got to say, it's actually looking good for Hong Kong Attitude now.
It's been a bit of a turnaround, and AHQ, they had a great start in the first 2 maps, but now suddenly in the bottom 2 maps, it's just not the same. Let's take a look at the replay as it is Hong Kong Attitude pushing through onto the streets.
And honestly, this is where the momentum just continued for them, right? You put the pressure on the high ground team to get down and dirty on the payload itself, while you're also putting pressure on the high ground. They lost Mui, right? Mui died to his own Helix rocket, and even that wasn't enough to stop up the card here. Now they're finally taking the fight to the card itself, which is good. It means it's not getting free movement, but the fight's still in Hong Kong Attitude's control the whole way through here because they actually had that positioning. They force AHQ off the high ground, which is the favorable position for AHQ.
This is a position for AHQ as well, where Dizzy didn't get a chance to use Tactical Visor. Rapid doesn't get a chance to use the Pulse Bomb, and actually, it was an AHQ favored fight. They had Mui kill himself right at the start of that. A 6 versus 5 that they still lose. That's a real disappointment.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be fair in saying it was 5 versus 5 because there had been that catch on Rapid before that, but that's the thing. They're still 5 versus 5. Like, that's not an unwinnable situation. There's not actually a numbers advantage, which it would have been if Mui hadn't gone down to his own Helix rocket. So that's the thing, actually. Even that wasn't enough for AHQ to lose the fight. Sorry, Hong Kong Attitude to lose the fight there, because AHQ, they just didn't really do much with what position they did have. Kind of hard to when you don't have Rapid actually flanking around in that situation, because you want to be peppering damage from above while you've got members like Eric and Rapid going aggressive to secure kills. Without that, they just kind of struggled.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. We're already on to the C-Cap. This is now 2 minutes 34 remaining for Hong Kong Attitude in the final moments for AHQ to really set this defense up, and they're still just really struggling. They have at least got Eric's Primal Raise, but aside from that, there's just nothing to really compete with us. They don't have enough time to get Dizzy's next Tactical Visor up, and it kind of just all falls apart, or at least it should.
And the thing is, they got a really great stagger on Hehe. They get the opening pick again. And then Randy. Look, the fight was already in their favor. They had a lot of tools to use. There was still the potential to stall here, but it was the 3K on the self-destruct that secured it. It stopped Hehe from remeching. It killed the one healer that was there that could keep these members topped off. It killed the one DPS that could maybe close out some kills to rescue the fight for AHQ. It was already going Hong Kong Attitude's way before that, but the self-destruct closed out any opportunity for AHQ to pull it back.
And Randy had such good self-destructs across the entire attack as well. You look at A, there's a double kill there. Look, he got at least one kill, if not a couple more, onto B as well. Then the triple kill onto C, just to close out the game. And actually AHQ tried to hide in front of the card to try and dodge that self-destruct damage, but because of the way it was angled, it just landed enough in the front, or at least in the middle of the truck, that it hits the 3 AHQ members just hiding in the front. So.
And this thing, it was just really good placement. And he knew exactly where he needed to place it as well. That's the thing, even if they try and pull back, they would have actually had to all abandon the cart completely anyway, and that probably would have allowed the cap to go over. It's the perfect kind of self-destruct, really. Either you zone them off and you get the cap, or you get the kills and you get the cap.
So it's a win-win situation that Randy and Hong Kong Attitude set up for themselves, and, you know, again, it's a well-deserved victory for them, and just plays like that is what gets them across the line. And with that now, 2-2 tied up series. Hong Kong Attitude threatening now to reverse sweep as well. And for AHQ, the final opportunity does happen after this break. Welcome back again to OPC Season 2. We're about to head into the 5th and final map in the series between AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude, and it has to end here. Somebody needs to walk away with this victory, and it still could be anybody.
And man, 5th and final, right? That's the thing. It's such a fitting way for this rivalry to end, no matter who it comes down to. Because if it's Hong Kong Attitude, the match record between these two teams total is 4 and 2 actually in their favor. It also secures them in the playoffs, no doubt. But for AHQ to pull it back in such a hard-fought series would be a very poetic way for it to end for them as well. They tie up the match record and they set themselves up well to get into playoffs with their series against Blank tomorrow.
And I had to have a chuckle there because, of course, it's Hollywood that it all ends. And this was traditionally a very good map for Hong Kong.
We said it from the start, right? If it goes to 5th, it's going to Hollywood.
Well, that's the thing, and it just works out so well. And for Hong Kong Attitude, it's like, well, we made it to Hollywood, and this is where it happens. And if it's Miami and Sydney, you made it to South Beach.
Woo! Oh, just by the way, though, look, we can say all of that. We knew that this was coming, really. If it went to map 5, it was going to be Hollywood, where Hong Kong Attitude previously first held AHQ the last time these two teams met. It was also Hong Kong Attitude winning all those payload-oriented maps. This time around, they won the Assault and lost the initial hybrid, so it's a bit of a different beat. But even so, look, super favored, absolutely. But you can't, like, take a deep breath and rest on your laurels, right? You get to go like, phew, we get to go to the map where we're heavily favored, but you've still got to make it happen. And this is where AHQ are going to fight their absolute hardest, because a loss here means it is almost impossible for them to make playoffs short of a blowout victory against Blank tomorrow.
And if AHQ do it here, they will absolutely deserve it as well. The last time these two teams met in Hollywood, it was 0-3 in favor of Hong Kong Attitude. That means Hong Kong Attitude fully kept out the map and then first held, just like in Dorado, against AHQ. So that would be such a tough loss for this AHQ squad, who had such a decent run, or really commanding run in the first two maps. To lose now, this would be a worse loss than against Mega, certainly in terms of how important this match is.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting you bring up the loss versus Mega, because actually that extra loss that other teams haven't had is exactly what has put the team that had the extra win in beating Flash Wolves in this exact position. It is only because of that very particular situation that a team that really challenged Ardian just yesterday may not make playoffs tomorrow.
This entire season for AHQ has been a bit of a roller coaster ride. You have such good starts, winning against Flash Wolves, dropping a series against Mega, and now potentially dropping a series against Hong Kong Attitude. Or the story ends with AHQ winning, and they can feel pretty good about that.
But it's Hong Kong Attitude on the defense first. So if it's going to be a first hold, well, we are going to find out pretty quickly. They're running, I believe, the exact same comp that did it last time.
Getting a first hold here would actually end the game fairly quickly as well, potentially for this AHQ squad to not cap on through, but getting the kill on the Shylin would say the opposite.
Threading the needle with those Helix rockets, and this is the opportunity for AHQ to go. They are respecting the damage out from Hong Kong Attitude, but this EMP is a long way away. That would be the stabilization tool. Good follow-up from Rapid to get a ting. This is very much Hong Kong Attitude on the back foot. Now going to lose Randy, who was the only thing kind of keeping them in it as they were flanking AHQ's members, stopping them from fully committing. But with that, AHQ do get to fully commit. No first hold today, and in fact, in just over a minute, they're going to be able to cap out this full point A.
And already rewriting history, this is an important move on for AHQ, and most importantly, they get it in the first attempt. And even better, Mui goes down and not even close to the EMP. This is a huge snowball play from AHQ now, nearly onto that tactical visor. Hong Kong Attitude, where's the response?
And I'll tell you what he was close to was AHQ. He was way too close to them. Should have been backed up way further. And because of that, they lose the opportunity to set up on this high ground. AHQ take full advantage. They've got Dizzy up here. They've got their two tanks up here. They've even got their healers up here.
And Mui changing onto the soldier now, waves high to Dizzy with the Helix rocket to his face. But other than that, Dizzy's still in commanding position. He's got the tactical visor. He has the high ground as well. So, you know, if you're Mui or Anakin, don't even bother.
That's the thing, right? Hong Kong Attitude, now with less resources, have to try and take the ground off AHQ and then still stop up the payload. Only just making it onto the payload now. but they still haven't done anything to dislodge Dizzy, who's still holding on to that tactical visor.
You're nearly onto this Doom push as well, because 6 ultimates just about to come online for AHQ. You're still waiting for a response from Hong Kong Attitude. There's actually a decent amount of ultimates on that side as well.
That's the
You can
dive.
expect a big fight here.
And you do, and here it comes now. Randy, who able to just barely reserve that mech. Sound barrier out for Hong Kong Attitude as they have to go for the commit. There's Dizzy, that's the one they needed. A 10 good follow-up to get that. And they pulled those defensive ultimates out of Crappy and Keras as well, who have not actually converted anything, whereas Hong Kong Attitude so far have. AHQ have had to abandon that high ground, have had to abandon the payload, and both teams looking very exhausted after all those ultimates committed.
Yeah, double support ultimates from both sides, double pulse bombs from both sides. AHQ spent just a little bit more. Mui about to hit the tactical visor, so all the advantage that Dizzy has had ahead of Mui, that's about to just even out completely.
And Dizzy's not actually set up yet either, by the way, to take a fight. He's got a very narrow sight line here. Makes it hard to dive him still, but even so, they're able to get the pullback now as Mui commits the attack visor, but he still gets the one on Crappy anyway. Dizzy is able to get out successfully, but again, it stops up AHQ for another extra moment.
And it's just not a clean disengage as well. It's just Crappy going down right in the final moments. You see AHQ's strategy there. They know they don't want to contest the tactical visor. They want to come in with an advantage there. China taking down carries as well. Everything slows down. AHQ, how much time have they wasted on this push just from members going down quickly?
Great dive onto it, Eric as well, forcing out his primal rage. Otherwise, he was going to go down. It just means that that's another resource they don't have, and it also means they lose a lot of extra time.
Oh, he's still waiting for this tactical visor from Dizzy, though. Mind you, he's held this since Cap A, and we're now already 2 minutes and 40 remaining onto the Streets phase of B. So where does this aggression, where does the attack from ANSU come from? They've just been waiting for a very long time.
Pulse Bomb from Rapid and Shylin both not finding anything. Now Dizzy wants to get aggressive with this sound barrier on and CQB dead. They get Mango Jai as well, and that was the one absorption tool Hong Kong Attitude had to deal with this tactical visor. Nice placement on the self-destruct to stop up Dizzy for a moment, but it's only a moment. Randy is going to go down. Payload will get back underway. Hong Kong Attitude still time for one last contest, but that is AHQ getting it back moving.
And AHQ finally, as soon as they actually put their foot onto the pedal, they move that car forward just a little bit closer, and they're going to cap this one out. Hong Kong Attitude, like you've already mentioned, coming in for the final contest. The goal here for Hong Kong Attitude should be to get this carrier's transcendence out of the way. If that can happen, then suddenly Hong Kong Attitude can work to get a stabilization defense on Seath.
And that is that Transcendence to save Hehe, but that does mean they get that self-destruct as well. Randy, on the other hand, does not, and is the first casualty of the fight, but trade back onto Keras. Now it's being able to pop the Primal Rage. What AHQ do have, they need to get a lot out of, because currently they're just kind of pulling back. Rapid, though, good stick onto Mui,
so
who was
important.
looking for a wraparound, and the self-destruct from Hehe creates the space they need on the fight itself as they pick Mango, they close out on CQB. They are going to be able to get the cap in that as well. Now very delayed kills on Shylin and Randy both.
And with Rapid handing over Pulse Bomb into the hands of Mui, he also hands over B into the hands of AHQ. That was probably the most important kill that he got that actually gave AHQ that point. Mui dies on 97% of the tactical visor. He was looking for the flank around. He could have used the tactical visor, and this would have been a very different story. But now, AHQ, 2 minutes 26 remaining, are going to get the push on through. Where do Hong Kong Attitude now set up the next defense?
They need to get good sightlines for that tactical visor. Above all else, goes instantly for it, looks to get Rapid, doesn't quite get the close. Now the block is there, and there was, in any case, that shield from the Winston. So now Dizzy's able to open up with his tactical visor. Rapid already converts on Randy's mech. Dizzy does have to pull back, though. That is at least something for themselves, but Hong Kong Attitude haven't exactly got kills either. Randy not able to get back in the mech now, just shy of that, and losing Mui late as well, trying to set up, but hadn't made the move quick enough. Now good Pulse Bomb getting onto Eting there, allows the close out. AHQ not really being stalled here. Hong Kong Attitude is going to be the last ditch, but the tanks are forward to try and stop any contest. Randy does break out. Good catch on Rapid. Now AHQ, they're a little back-footed as Hong Kong Attitude freed the members here. Double self-destruct, and it's Randy who converts even as they lose Shylin. That should be just enough to repel AHQ here.
And even Mui's just closing the back door as well, making sure no AHQ members can really escape this. They want to get the full route. They want to get all the kills as AHQ attempt to try and regroup with their own team. With 1 minute 14 remaining, this is incredibly important for Hong Kong Attitude to try and charge up enough ultimates to stave off that final attack from AHQ, which should be happening at any moment. And AHQ are also running out of options.
That was a big stall on Hehe. They killed the mech, nearly killed him. He got back in the mech, then lost the mech, and then he's had to go back to spawn and fully reset the mech. That alone pulled about 20 seconds out of AHQ's pockets.
And that defense from Hong Kong Attitude might have just set in motion the kind of impeding doom for AHQ where they may not cap out at all. If they can get a good pick here, though, it would make change.
And that is the good pick, but they lose Keres, so Sound Barrier's going to have to do a lot because Mango Jai has got this transcendence as he just in the middle of the fight, not able to do anything. Dizzy down to his own Helix rocket, and that could be the disaster getting spelled there as Randy closes out on his counterpart Smack. They've got all these resources too. 20 seconds left. Hong Kong Attitude plenty in the tank.
Good news for AHQ though, Dizzy nearly onto the tactical visor, but Hong Kong Attitude just have so much more to work with. If the blizzard comes down and it comes down good, that's the push over. A good ice wall as well to block anyone from escaping, that's over. For AHQ, they have to play around Millie. Here he comes.
And he throws it out onto Keres because they know the early pick does
punished,
work, but it goes down. Yeah, hard punish. They do close out on Keres still, but they need to get a lot with these other resources. This is a risky position to take the fight. It needs to pay off. They need to get the kills. Getting Hehe is big with that pulse bomb. It's leveraging the resources. They get Eric despite the primal rage, and AHQ aren't getting extra distance on the payload. Hong Kong Attitude are getting those closeouts, and Mui onto the Bastion even just to close out that narrow alleyway. They nearly get it over the line there, AHQ, but they don't quite make it. And now Hong Kong Attitude, again, their end of the court. All they need to do is cap.
This is when you got to look back on B, you got to look back on the streets phase for AHQ because that's where it went all wrong. What started as a 6 ultimate advantage against 4, maybe even 3 that Hong Kong Attitude had, you forced Mui to change onto Soldier. He didn't even get an EMP on the Sombra, dying very late as AHQ pushed into B, and it all fell apart after that for AHQ because they never really leveraged their advantage. They never really got a good push in, wasted so much time on losing individual members time and time again. And Hong Kong Attitude, because of that, they get the full hold onto C. They get the stabilization they've been waiting for, and AHQ got to be kicking themselves for it.
And really what that was the same Hong Kong Attitude that had been able to full hold on A. The difference is they just didn't full hold on A because AHQ got a really good fight. They didn't get that EMP economy rolling. Tough nuts, but they were able to get the holds later on anyway, so all's well that ends well.
Might see a reverse here though, because for AHQ, if they do get a very good hold onto A, they could threaten the full hold there. They could also threaten the full hold onto B. The snowball mechanic here works in a way for the defense where you really bleed a lot of time out on any of the early stages. That's when you're really risking the full hold on any of the later stages on either B or C. So the fact that AHQ didn't fully cap out, they can also still make a turnaround by making sure that they just stop Hong Kong Attitude before they even reach that point.
That's really got to be the game plan for AHQ. They've got to find at least somewhere they can actually fully stop up Hong Kong Attitude. That's the reality. The precedent coming into this is that Hong Kong Attitude have the ability to get a payload to the finish. That's actually been what they've been able to do every single map so far, at least with the slight exception of Numbani.
The good news for AHQ is the fact that they've been successfully stalling out time on every map so far, so if they're not getting anything else, they are getting that, and that may just add up to a full hold somewhere later down the line. But gotta start with A. This is where it happens, and carries with a good EMP here. If he can do better than Mui did on Hong Kong Attitude's own defense, then AHQ are in action.
Yeah, you gotta start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Moving on to the Mei, interestingly enough, really valuing that when they want to try and isolate these targets. That isolation only matters if you get the conversion off it. That's a very quick icicle. That actually means that the dive can come in now, but that's the catch on the Crappy. That's a good opener now. And that EMP is still not a factor just yet. Kara's getting a little pressured out, and Shylin closes out on an Eric who was diving for that Hack's health pack, and now they get aggressive. They close out on Dizzy, looking to find Rapid as well. They do indeed catch him. He loses the mech very late, and EMP or no, it's just not safe to commit it, even if it was available. Hong Kong Attitude, equally as fast as AHQ, gonna get the point A cap.
And they get it in their first attempt as well. You're expecting Mui to change out of the Mei here. It's not as effective in the streets phase. It doesn't really do anything considering the verticality, considering how wide this B point is. If he does stay on the Mei, it could be a little bit problematic, but he's so close to Blizzard as well, so there is also a good argument there. Speaking of close, Curious is close.
He's, very close to Hong Kong Attitude. But that's the thing, they're clearly valuing the Blizzard. I suppose I can understand that, but it's got to get something done.
That's the thing as well, because it's so wide and so expansive, so vertical, Very hard to make use of really hard to make use of the Blizzard here, but you do also expect AHQ to make the first move. They want to be pushing in, so for Mui, get this one charged up. When AHQ want to get aggressive, then you drop the Blizzard defensively.
That's Mango, very pressured and goes down. Good convert off the EMP, but the rest of Hong Kong Attitude able to safely pull back from that one. Now that EMP is a non-factor, so, I mean, it's a moment, I suppose, of respite for AHQ, but Hong Kong Attitude going to come back strong.
And the problem is the EMP only got Mango Jai, it only killed him. No one else in Hong Kong Attitude was affected, no one else went down. So yeah, a couple moments here that Hong Kong Attitude unfortunately lose, but now, what do AHQ do? They're still in a deficit. Hong Kong Attitude still in control. Look at their ults.
Yeah, looking to get the isolate there on Hehe didn't quite work out, but the payload's back on the way. And honestly, AHQ are the ones who need to find something in this fight because now the Blizzard's there. Good freeze on Hehe. He commits the self-destruct, and they're just going to hold tight now. They don't need to do anything themselves. Just committing out the sound barrier rather and the primal rage to get the momentum on their side, and off the back of that alone they're able to get that momentum going. AHQ smartly not committing any further ultimates, but Hong Kong Attitude getting a lot of distance for the few ultimates they themselves committed.
And they're really riding this momentum now. Mui even going to the high ground, denying that from AHQ. You're denying Dizzy the space that he wants, and still Dizzy wears a tactical visor. You're expecting these ultimates to come out at AHQ. You're expecting the defense to come out. Carrier's even swapping off the Sombra onto the Zenyatta now, and Hong Kong Attitude nearly kept it out.
They nearly have, and this is where the Blizzard does become a factor, because despite the verticality, you have to fight on this payload, and that's where the Blizzard goes. No one from Hong Kong Attitude is actually on it, though, to push it over the line. That is because of the tactical visor, but now with that out of the mix, Hong Kong Attitude have an opportunity. They lose Shaolin, but he does get some back before going down. Randy not enough with the self-destruct, though, and now Mui maybe should change off the Mei here. Hong Kong Attitude finally getting repelled as Dizzy able to commit safely with the tactical visor and gets the kills on the backside. Looking to route Randy as well, should be able to do so, and CQB for good measure. Oof. Now Randy's mech, that's a really big advantage.
This is a lot of very late deaths for Hong Kong Attitude. Mui now onto the Soldier to try and match Dizzy, but AHQ have finally stabilized. 2 minutes 41 now remaining, and this is a pretty viable defense. Mind you that Hong Kong Attitude are behind. Randy loses his ult charge because he has to remake and spawn. Mui changed heroes, so yeah, he loses ult charge as well. AHQ, this is their moment to build up a big advantage, to build up a big bank of ultimates, and then to really stabilize his defense. And Hong Kong Attitude, gotta find an opening.
The only way HQ can do it, though, is getting an opening of their own. So, I mean, this is close to as neutral a fight as you're going to get, really. As the sleep just going wide, and actually Crappy loses some eye lines here as Hong Kong Attitude pushing HQ off the high ground. Still looking for their end.
You gotta get the carry Transcendence as well to match Mango Jai's, otherwise this could be a very short fight indeed. Nano Visor onto Dizzy could be a weapon that they really utilize. Mui's super low though, so Hong Kong Attitude at least not gonna push just yet.
They've got to top him up, and they do, but they've got to commit the Transcendence to get started in the fight. But now Dizzy's got this tactical visor. It's going to be the nano boost, not onto Dizzy, I believe. In fact, he's looking for the wraparound on the side. And there's the kills already coming through as they catch Randy. Now the tactical visor is out to try and close some kills, but actually not quite getting much. The Primal Rage to come out, catches Dizzy. Now Hong Kong Attitude able to get on the aggressive Rapid, trying to wrap around. Pulse Bomb does at least get Shailin, but he's gone down anyway. It's just two angry monkeys buffeting on the point. He has the self-destruct to buy more time for respawners, but those respawners have to do something. Well, that's something. They get the two supports, and that may just pull the rug out from underneath Hong Kong Attitude, who are not getting anything at all off this tactical visor that they only just got. That is really unfortunate for Hong Kong Attitude.
And they come out so much worse for this as well. AHQ, it looked pretty dire. Hong Kong Attitude committed so much. CQB with the arguably late sound barrier after two members went down, but they still managed to hold on because the team got so much work in there, and somehow Rapid got a stick onto a team that killed Shailin. Didn't kill a team, killed Shailin on the other tracer. So AHQ, they just find these small kills. They find these small openings, and now Hong Kong Attitude actually don't have the time.
Wow, great flank to catch Mango Jai. Speaking of not got the time, they'll now be capping in overtime, which is much slower than what AHQ themselves did. Hong Kong Attitude still actually have to get it to the end as well if they still get it over the line here, and still looking for that opening.
Still no ultimates either, so where are you going to get that opening, it has to come through picks. Unfortunately, AHQ can get the same picks and maybe even better. The Nano Boost available, the Self-Destruct available, and they're going to open things up immediately with Eric.
Nano Boost out, and they're looking to get a spawn camp, not quite getting the kills yet, so they have to back off. Mango will now be able
They don't have
to
time to back off.
They've got to keep him alive. Crappy's dead though. That's not the successful back off. They lose Dizzy too. Committing the self-destruct has to pay dividends, but it only gets CQB, and now they're losing their members. Eric down to the pulse bomb. It's a little costly for Hong Kong Attitude. They did have to commit the few resources that banked up, but they get to bank up a few more. AHQ now, last ditch contest as they lose Rapid. They need to not commit anyone else here, honestly, because it could just give ultimate charge over. Now, with just enough time to fully cap out Hong Kong Attitude, uphill battle, but still alive. That's big. Getting getting the stagger as well. They're looking for someone else, can't quite get the route, but that's still free distance.
That looks so winnable for AHQ, but now Hong Kong Attitude are in charge. They're in command. The cart is once again moving. AHQ, they're the ones that have to be very careful now. They could have fully held B. Now they're going to fully hold C, and not even the full distance. Partway through, Hong Kong Attitude can get the full cap in. The good news for AHQ is Hong Kong Attitude do not have time. This could end either way. Oh my god, in the best of 5 series, the last map could just end on the overtime.
That would be absolutely befitting of these teams. Hong Kong Attitude have to go for the fight. They had to commit the sound barrier. May have to commit the self-destruct from Randy too. Just barely having to do it at the end there, but Dizzy wants to get aggressive. Zoned out as he is. They don't quite get anything. He goes down. Murray's still in this one. He doesn't have his own self-destruct. He's going to lose his mech despite the Transcenders. And AHQ committed a lot of ultimates. Really, they committed all they had aside from the Primal Rage. Hong Kong Attitude still had enough to get him moving. 20 seconds left. The cart's moving, and they got the ultimates.
They have the ultimates. Mui nearly on the tactical visor as well. What can AHQ do? They're not getting enough mileage. Dizzy died in the middle of his tactical visor. Didn't get anything done with that one. Kerry is changing now onto the Sombra. It's all up to Eric and Rapid. If Rapid can get this kill, that could be where it starts.
Shylin's down though. That's a big one. And Eric getting aggressive. Forces out that Transcendence, but he's self-destruct trying to get into position. Doesn't quite get it. Dizzy's in trouble. Long way away from this fight, but yes, Mui is too. And that's the difference. He goes down. Mango Jai as well. It's in the overtime, and it's just under 4 meters, but there's no members left. Randy, he doesn't have a self-destruct to stall a Ting, just shy of a Primal Rage, and Shia desperately gunning for it, but he won't get on it, and that's how it's gonna happen. That's how it's gonna end. Just meters away from getting the reverse sweep. Hong Kong Attitude falls short. AHQ bite back, and they tie themselves up for the overall record, but coming into playoffs, that is the win you want.
And this has been the best series so far in all of OPC Season 2, the closest series you'll ever see, threatening a potential reverse sweep, but AHQ bringing it back just when it counts into the overtime, no less. This could not have been closer, and it was millimeters, it was inches, the difference between the two teams.
That is a good feeling for AHQ, and on the map where you got first held the last time this team picked it against you, no less. Nearly succumbing to the reverse sweep, having it at match point for so long and watching as it nearly slipped out of your grasp. But now, with that crucial win, they aren't quite back into playoffs. It's not quite secured, but all they need to do is beat blank tomorrow.
The two coaches there exchanging smiles as they collect the handshakes off each other, and look, that is the most rewarding set of handshakes that AHQ have potentially collected all season. This has been the most important win for them. After losing to Mega, they've now redeemed themselves with this pickup.
Absolutely redeemed themselves, and against a team that they have not beaten now for months. That is, like I said, exactly the kind of win you want coming into playoffs. These are the kind of results you want to be pulling out. It speaks to your resurgence. It speaks to your ability to perform in those playoffs. And Hong Kong Attitude, whether or not they make playoffs, because by the way, their own spot isn't secure yet, you do have to question their own ability to perform, 3-2 being the scoreline, and it results now with only 1 day of games left, a 3-way tie of which only 2 teams will make it into playoffs and 1 will fall just barely short.
And not even just that, but the 2 teams that do make it into playoffs, who comes third, who comes fourth, that's going to spell a lot of what could be happening into playoffs. The 4th place team, it goes up against Artie, the 3rd place against Flashwolves. But before we get into playoffs, let's take a look at the replays of Hollywood.
And this was AHQ getting it over the line. I did mention it. Look, Hong Kong Attitude barely got it in the overtime. AHQ's own use of the momentum, once they got it back, was very, very significant here. The difference is, like, Hong Kong Attitude held them, like, fully held them for a much longer time than what AHQ did. But once the momentum was underway, AHQ's momentum was more powerful than Hong Kong Attitude's. And it was all just good conversion. Now you end up in this situation where these members are just late on this point, really. And Mui at least didn't commit the tactical visor. But even then, they'd already lost so many members, given away so much ult charge. It was about as hard a position to be in coming into that 3rd-point defense.
And he didn't use it because he didn't have it, unfortunately. He wanted to use it. He was just setting up position to do it, and that was the pulse bomb stick from Rapid that secured that defense, at least for the time being, before eventually Hong Kong Attitude took it back in the overtime. But man, that was tight. Let's take a look at the next replay now, slightly further on, and this is actually going to be still the push on through from Hong Kong Attitude now into C. Rapid collecting Mui rather early.
The thing is, they were a little lean on ultimates here, AHQ, but what they did have, they really got mileage out of. They got this one very down to the wire, got a good bit of distance here, and it was only after that that they actually got repelled, ultimately. So you see what Hong Kong Attitude commit here. The self-destruct goes in the back line. Mui does get a nice kill through, but suddenly Hong Kong Attitude are actually a little bit separated. AHQ, on the other hand, are not. So even with He's mech getting lost, they're still able to get some push through here.
So this is going to be Hong Kong Attitude still managing to push on through, nearing that overtime critical scenario. And at the end of the day, if that replay had gone in just a little bit further, you would have seen Shylin getting picked out by, I believe it was Rapid, or it might have been Dizzy actually that got him through. And it's interesting, the power struggle between the two Tracer players has been quite evident across the entire series tonight. And at either point, it has been one outplaying the other, and not even necessarily in a 1v1 scenario, just outplaying each other in terms of getting kills and damage on the other team members of the other side. So again, the other replay that we saw on Streets, that was such a big play from Rapid, and then Shylin had equal plays of his own at various parts of Hollywood.
The thing you've got to feel, though, is in terms of pulse bombs, Rapid absolutely had more impact. When it really counted, he got that stick on a Ting, which somehow killed Shylin. He got 2 sticks in a row on Mui, and off the back of that is going to earn himself player of the game for his Tracer play, and I think deservedly so, because you've got to talk about performing when it counts, and if you look at that power struggle, it was Rapid just getting the extra mileage, especially with those pulse bombs on top of the damage he was throwing out that allowed them to get that extra distance on their attack and the extra hold on their defense.
And that's evident in the fact that when you look at the AHQ attack onto 3rd, onto C, when Hong Kong Attitude were defending, look, Shylin, or rather not Shylin, but Rapid was playing out of his mind. That's probably the best I've ever seen Rapid play. And for him to be peaking now, heading into playoffs, this is when you want your players to be at their very best. And Rapid, he's shown why he's now one of the best in the tournament.
Absolutely has. And wow, what a way to round off not just this rivalry, but the night. And that is the last time these teams meet in the regular season. They may not even meet in playoffs, because one of these two teams may not even make playoffs. But of course, to recap the night, Blank taking Ardient's second map loss off them, but Ardient still getting the better of that 3-1, followed up by Flash Wolves not getting upset by Mega, taking out the 3-0. And then of course, as we have just had there, AHQ, a very vicious 3-2 against Hong Kong Attitude, nearly getting reverse swept, but ultimately performing when it counts. And it reflects in that standings in that monolithic 3-way tie, where even the map difference is minute between these teams.
Yeah, and aside from the 3rd to 6th place there as well, Mega picking up that loss tonight puts them at 4-9, still in 6th place. Machi, we've yet to see them today, but we will see them against Hong Kong Attitude tomorrow. A big, important win for Hong Kong Attitude if they can pick that one up to really put themselves in that playoffs contention. Ardient looking absolutely safe here. Flashels looking absolutely safe here. And Ardient are directly mirroring Libet Supreme, which is very unfortunate for the Japanese side, who will get one last opportunity tomorrow against Mega to pick up their win, or just unfortunately having to go home without anything on the leaderboard.
And tomorrow's matchups could really swing a lot. You've got some real funky ones in there. If Machi pull off an upset against Hong Kong Attitude can't make playoffs anymore. If they pull off that upset and then Mega lose, to Liberland, they risk dropping into bottom 2 at the final hour. And then you've also got all those other amazing matchups, such as the capstone of not just the night, but arguably the tournament as a whole before you reach playoffs, being Flash Wolves versus Ardiant, which may end up being a bit of a glimpse of this grand finals itself.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm more excited for AHQ Blank because of just how much weight is on that single matchup. I know the capstone match has to be Ardiant Flash Wolves, but you got to give it to the other one in the middle. But before we even head to tomorrow, let's take a look at the winner's interview with Dizzy from AHQ here. A couple thoughts from him.
打太久了。
Oh, those are very long
真
matches.
的有点累了。
Yeah, I'm very
今天
tired.
是怎么样？都已经2-0了，你知道那时候
So
工
it
作人
was
员还说：“哎，
2-0.
小熊
What
你
happened
要
after
准备
that?
喽。”然后HKA 赢了，
Suddenly, Hong Kong Attitude
很
had a
紧
comeback.
张哎。今天状况是怎么样？中间是有调整
What
不好。
happened? What happened in the middle?
中间就可能是我们自己没有发挥好吧。
We didn't
因为今
really
天其
adapt
实
well.
对你们
to
来
Hong
讲
Kong
是
Attitude.
非常重要的一场，非常
So
关
this
键。
is a very
那
important
你们在对
match
上
for you
HKA
today.
这样子跟你们分数蛮相近的队伍的时候，你们是有做什么样的策略，或者
So
是
what
针
did
对
you
他
do
们
in preparation for this match?
就可能我们自己把我们东西准备好了，然后
So
打的时候就尽
our
量
normal
把
preparation.
对方失误打这样。
等对方失误，因为今天在
Just really
2-0
looking
的时
at
候
the way
呢
Hong，Kong
到了
Attitude
后来
played.
选了福斯卡工业区。
So
你
when
选
we
了
got to
托比啊，
Volskaya,
在
you
联
played
赛
Torbjorn.
这一季好像看过你出了1次
So
的样
you've
子。
pulled Torbjorn
为什
out
么会
one
在
other time.
2-0都已经要赢的时候又
So
在
you're
选
about to
了
win potentially 3-0. Why
因为平
Torbjorn?
常练习的时候
It's something we
就打得
practiced.
算还不错吧。
And
哦，
it was
所以你们平常
we
有
had
在
good
练
scrim
这一
results
套
with
就
it.
对了，只是比较少拿出来用
So。it feels like you
所以
practiced
算
well.
是
So
这样
yes.
算长招吗？不算，因为输了。
So do you still think it's good? Dizzy didn't answer yet, and
哎，他只有赢了，我才敢这样开玩笑。好吗
maybe it's still not good. So kind of joking around there.
哦，好，先恭喜你们获胜了。那
So
你们对于
congratulations on the win.
有没有可能进入季后赛这件事有没有比较放
So you
心
might actually get into playoffs now. Do you
没
feel
有
a bit
因为
better?
还有明天要跟本
We don't feel comfortable just yet because we still have blank tomorrow.
刚刚全部都7-6，哎，超可怕的。
哎，真的好可怕啊！那另外一件事就是 AHQ 其实是一支进步非常
So
快的
AHQ have
队
had a lot of
那我想
improvements
了解
lately.
一下你们的 Nito 教练有没有给你
So
们一些
what has Nito
比
done?
较
What has he
不同
told
于
you?
别队的指导方式
So
或者是训练方法？
How has the practice been good
别
for you
队的
guys?
训练方式是怎样，我们不知道啊。就我们自己就练习完就花比较多时
So
间检讨吧。
we spend a lot of time in review after playing.
用心去准备就对了。
对啊，就把自己的东西准备好
I。feel like the most important thing is our
我
preparation.
相信这个选手现在压力一定是非常大，我相信
So it
每
feels
支
like
队
there's a
伍
lot
现
of
在应该
pressure
都
on you
快
guys.
吓死了，真的。
I feel like every match you
明
play
天就会
is,
是非常
has so
精
much
彩
weight,
赛程
and
了。
tomorrow is
明
going to
天
be
赛程
extremely
会提早
important.
到2点钟开始，所以呢，
And
各位
it's going to be an
想要不
earlier
想
start
错
as
过
well.
比
So
赛
if
观众
you
提早看我们现场
if you're not
比赛
aware
转
just
播。
yet,
那
there's
今天
4 matches coming up tomorrow. I'm going to go through that very quickly with you. Machi Hong Kong Attitude to start things off, followed by AHQ Blank. Arguably the most important match of the evening. You cannot miss that one. Liberland Supreme versus Mega, and that's the last chance for Liberland Supreme to pick up a win. And then the big one, Ardiant versus Flash Wolves. Worth less in terms of weighting, but it's a big one because it's number 1 versus number 2.
And that's the thing. I mean, you kick it off with the last match Hong Kong Attitude need to win to secure their spot in playoffs. Then you have the decider as to who will be the final team to make playoffs. If Machi pull off the upset, then the Liberland Mega match is Mega's last chance to secure the win that keeps them safe from bottom 2. And then you round off with, like I said, what could turn out to be a glimpse of the grand final itself.
You can tell that neither AHQ nor Blank will be sleeping well tonight. I think use whatever time you can to prepare for tomorrow, and certainly we'll be preparing for tomorrow. And if you want to catch the action, make sure you tune in 2 hours early because we will be starting early to accommodate the extra matchup. But other than that, I've been Kevin AVRL Walker, joined with me this entire evening, Matt Pixie Carroll, for week 6, day 2 action. It's all over, but day 3 will continue tomorrow, the final day of the regular season. OPC Season 2 will conclude very quickly, so stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow.